Chapter 206. That night, Leng Shiqi didn't rest or cultivate. Instead, he sat in his room waiting for someone. Soon there was a knock on the door. Leng Shiqi said, "Come in." The door was pushed open and a young man walked in. It was Huyan Men. Huyan Men looked at Leng Shiqi, who was sitting on the chair, and said, "Senior Lu knew I would come?" Leng Shiqi said, "It's just a guess. Sit." Huyan Men didn't hold back and sat across from Leng Shiqi. Senior Lu was at the 4th level of the spirit transformation realm 2 months ago. Now you're at the 9th level of the spirit transformation realm? And you're an extremely rare spirit cultivator. Senior really hit it well. Leng Shiqi said, "Same to you. Little friend Huyan Men, if you have something to say, just say it." Huyan Men was stunned for a moment. He originally prepared some excuses, but he didn't need to use them. He simply said, "Junior came here to make a deal with Senior." "Oh, let's hear it." Leng Shiqi revealed an interested expression. Huyan Men took out a thin booklet and placed it on the table between them. "This is a secret technique that Junior obtained by chance. It's called the soul-splitting art. This secret technique can split your consciousness into 2 parts. One part can control the body while the other part can be immersed in the spiritual space. Senior Lu is a spirit cultivator and should know the value of this soul-splitting art." When Leng Shiqi heard this, his eyes flashed with a strange light. The power of a spirit cultivator's spirit technique was not only related to the strength of the spirit force, but also the strength of the spirit force. To increase the spirit force, one had to immerse their consciousness in the spiritual space and slowly refine it. This process required a long time of refinement to steadily increase the spirit force. However, a person's time was limited. As a spirit cultivator, they had to cultivate their spirit force and spirit techniques at the same time. Because of this, they had very little time to refine their spirit force. However, with the soul-splitting art, it was completely different. This way, they could split a part of their consciousness to refine their spirit force in the spiritual space. It could be said that his spiritual power was growing at every moment. However, there are drawbacks to splitting one's consciousness into 2 halves. For example, when Leng Shiqi first met Huyan Men, he looked like a simpleton and was always half a beat slower in everything he did. Overall, this soul-splitting technique was indeed extraordinary. However, Leng Shiqi did not think that Huyan Men was a spirit caster, so what was the part of his consciousness that he sent out? Leng Shiqi did not pick up the booklet. Instead he asked, "Huyan, what do you want?" Huyan Men smiled faintly and said, "What this junior wants is Senior Lu's concealment technique." Leng Shiqi thought to himself that this was indeed the case. The breath-holding technique was not a high-level secret technique, but it was very practical. Moreover, it could have unexpected effects at certain times. Exchanging the breath-holding technique for the mind-splitting technique didn't seem like a bad deal. However, Leng Shiqi was still puzzled. Huyan Men should be a disciple of a spirit cultivator sect. Then he used the soul-splitting technique to hide his shrewdness, and wanted to use the breath-holding technique to hide his cultivation. What was he trying to do? According to Leng Shiqi's understanding of spirit cultivator sects, their disciples should be eager to let everyone know how high their cultivation was, so that they would be valued more. Huyan Men saw that Leng Shiqi was silent, and thought that Leng Shiqi was not satisfied. He continued, "Senior Lu, don't be too greedy. To a spirit cultivator, the value of the soul-splitting technique is comparable to a rank 4 spirit technique. What is Senior Lu hesitating for? This old man can accept this deal, but this old man still has a small condition." Leng Shiqi replied. Huyan Men frowned slightly. He was afraid that Leng Shiqi would demand an exorbitant price, but he still said, "Senior, please tell me. Tonight's matter will only be known to the heavens and earth. It cannot be spread to a third person." This old man can see that Huyan Men is not simple, but people like him are often the ones who stir up trouble the most. I don't want to implicate this old man in the future. When Huyan Men heard this, he let out a sigh of relief. He smiled and said, "Senior Lu, you worry too much. As long as this junior leaves this door, even if you beat me to death, I will not admit that I came to find Senior tonight." Leng Shiqi nodded and said, "That's good. Little friend, please wait for a moment." Then, Leng Shiqi found a pen and paper in the room and wrote down the breath-holding technique. The two exchanged the breath-holding technique and soul-splitting technique, and obtained what they wanted. Leng Shiqi looked at the small booklet in his hand. A line of words appeared in front of his eyes that only he could see. He knew that this soul-splitting technique was real, so he said, "The breath-holding technique is not difficult to practice. With little friend Huyenmen's talent, you should be able to master it in less than an hour. Why don't you try practicing it with this old man to verify its authenticity? Senior Lu, why would you deceive this junior? There's no need to verify its authenticity. It's already late, so this junior will not disturb Senior Lu's rest." Huyenmen said politely. Of course, Leng Shiqi would not keep him and sent him out. After returning, Leng Shiqi began to try to practice the soul-splitting technique. This secret technique did not have small success, large success, or great perfection. If you can learn it, you can learn it. If you can't, you can't. He directly used his skill points to learn the soul-splitting technique. Then he began to experiment. Leng Shiqi sat down cross-legged and closed his eyes. Shortly after, his consciousness arrived in a pitch-black spiritual space. He controlled his spiritual body to circulate the soul-splitting technique. A part of Leng Shiqi's spiritual body gradually split out. The size was only about 1/10 of the original body. Moreover, that small part of it still had its own consciousness and was wandering around. Then Leng Shiqi left the spiritual space. He opened his eyes. If one looked carefully, one would notice that his eyes were missing a hint of shrewdness. Interesting, but if I split out too little, the speed of refining spiritual power will be too slow. Leng Shiqi whispered to himself. Then Leng Shiqi directly split out half of his spiritual body. At this time he looked a little dull. There was a hint of turbidity in his eyes. Leng 17 looked around. In his eyes, he could still see his surroundings very clearly, but there was always a kind of feeling that his head was heavy and his feet were light. He muttered, "What a strange feeling. It's a bit like I haven't woken up yet. I wonder if I can cultivate like this?" Thinking of this, Leng Shiqi immediately tried to practice the seven fiends' art of blood slaughter. After a short while, Leng Shiqi opened his eyes and revealed a hint of joy. In this state, it did not affect his cultivation. In other words, he could cultivate spiritual power and refine spiritual power at the same time. Leng Shiqi's mouth raised into a silly smile. Then he immersed himself in his cultivation. Chapter 207. On the third day, the demon-subduing city was sealed, and the recruitment of the city guards was over. On this day, Wei Hongyi came to the courtyard to gather everyone. In the past 3 days, there was only one more person, so there were a total of 15 people standing here. Wei Hongyi gave an impassioned speech. A few of the younger people revealed excited expressions, but most of them just nodded perfunctorily. Wei Hongyi saw that it was about time and finally got down to business. "Everyone, you have all been together for a few days. I said before that you would form a guard, and the captain's position would be decided by yourselves. Does anyone have a choice now?" At this moment, Ding Zhou stepped forward. Wei Hongyi saw that he was at the 9th layer of the spirit transformation realm, and secretly nodded. However, he didn't expect Ding Zhou to say, "Corporal Wei, we fully support Elder Lu as our captain." "That's right, I also support Elder Lu. Elder Lu is highly respected. The captain's position should be his." "That's right, Elder Lu's strength is outstanding and he is kind. I admire him." Everyone else also supported Leng Shiqi. Only Deng Li stood on the side with an expressionless face. Wei Hongyi's expression suddenly froze. He wasn't surprised that Leng Shiqi could become the captain, but he was surprised that everyone else supported him so much. Leng Shiqi didn't know whether to laugh or cry. In the past 2 days he had spent some time teaching the others how to cultivate their spirit techniques. He had dozens of spirit techniques at the peak of the spirit transformation realm, so he had a lot of experience in this area. His prestige in this small courtyard was really high. Wei Hongyi walked up to Leng Shiqi and said, "I didn't expect Elder Lu to be so respected. Since no one has any objections, I officially announce Lu Xingji as the captain of the 8th Guard. This is the captain's token. Elder Lu, take it." As he spoke, he took out a light silver token and handed it over. Leng Shiqi took the token with both hands and said, Thank you, Captain Wei, and everyone else for your support. This old man is ashamed. Wei Hongyi said. In the city guard, high positions have always been occupied by the capable. Elder Lu accepted it calmly. Okay, everyone, follow me to the drill ground. The commander wants to see you all. Senior Commander? The Grand Commander of the City Guards wants to meet us personally. Hearing Wei Hongyi's words, a few people suddenly exclaimed. Leng Shiqi also figured out the structure of the city guards these days. The highest power of the city guards was the commander Lei Yuanwu, who was in the realm of Gang Spirit Realm. It was said that he was a relative of the royal family. There were also 2 vice commanders, both of whom were experts at the Spirit Aperture realm. Every vice commander had 5 to 6 Dekarches under their command, just like Wei Hongyi, who was a Spirit Pulse realm cultivator. Each Dekarch had 7 or 8 captains under them, and they were usually spirit cultivators at the 9th level of the Spirit Transformation realm. Each guard had around 20 people. There were about 2,000 city guards in total. At this time, Wei Hongyi put on a stern face and said in a deep voice, "The Grand Commander usually dislikes people making a fuss. You are new here and don't know the rules. When you see the Grand Commander later, don't speak carelessly." When those people saw that Wei Hongyi was a little displeased, they immediately fell silent. Then Wei Hongyi took Leng Shiqi and the others to the big drill ground in the city lord's mansion. When they arrived, there were already a lot of people gathered here. At a rough glance, there were more than 1,000 people. These people were all wearing silver light armor, and they all stood in an orderly manner. There were obviously a lot of people gathered here, but no one spoke. They could only hear the light footsteps of people coming from all around. Wei Hongyi once again gestured for everyone to be silent, and led them to stand at the side of the drill ground. Leng Shiqi looked around and found that more than 70% of these city guards were Spirit Transformation Realm cultivators. Only a few of them were in the pure spirit realm. These people either had status or talent. He couldn't help but think of the city guards of Shangyang City. As the Grand Commander, Zhong Linkai was only at the late stage of the Spirit Transformation Realm. There were even some ordinary people in the guards below. They were all city guards. The gap between them was like the difference between clouds and mud. Not long after, all the city guards arrived. A man with a square face and a very serious face walked over accompanied by 2 people. He was the Grand Commander of the City Guards of Demon Suppressing City, Lei Yuanwu. Wei Hongyi and the other sergeants all half knelt on the ground and shouted respectfully, "Greetings, Grand Commander." "Greetings, Grand Commander." The others also saluted. Lei Yuanwu nodded lightly. Only then did everyone stand up. His deep voice sounded. "Today I will only say one thing. Tomorrow, go out of the city to clear out the demonic beasts." His words were concise and comprehensive, but they were even more shocking, especially those who had just joined the city guards in the past few days. The reason why they joined the city guards at this time was not entirely to protect their country. Most of them wanted to take the opportunity to make a living, and some wanted to gild a layer of gold. But they never thought that Lei Yuanwu would let them take the initiative to go out of the city to clear out the demonic beasts. One had to know that even the periphery of the demonic Miasma mountain range was filled with rank 3 demonic beasts. What's more, everyone said that there would be a beast tide. At this time, instead of taking the opportunity to build defensive fortifications, they had to take the initiative to enter the demonic Miasma mountain range. Besides, the Crimson Thunder Army would arrive in a few days. Even if they wanted to take the initiative to attack, they had to wait until the Crimson Thunder Army arrived. Was the Grand Commander crazy? However, no one in the drill ground said a word. Obviously, they had been told before. As for the original city guards, they did not dare to disobey the Grand Commander's orders. Leng Shiqi was delighted. The purpose of joining the city guards was to use their strength to enter the demonic Miasma mountain range and secretly refine the demonic blood. Now that Lei Yuanwu had such a plan, it was really what Leng Shiqi wanted. It saved him a lot of effort. Lei Yuanwu was very satisfied with everyone's reaction. He then said, "I know you have a lot of doubts. I will only say one thing. I will not let you die. Vice Commander Qiao will tell you the details." The old man in luxurious clothes behind Lei Yuanwu stepped forward, and said the specific mission of clearing out the demonic beasts. Leng Shiqi understood when he heard Vice Commander Qiao's words. The main mission of clearing out the demonic beasts this time was to test the demonic beast's strength. First of all, they had to occupy a place within 10 miles of the demon-suppressing town as a buffer. At the same time, they had to see if the change in the demonic miasma mountain range this time would lead to a beast tide. Moreover, the third-rank demonic beasts would naturally be dealt with by the masters of the celestial realm. The ordinary city guards only needed to hunt second-rank demonic beasts. In addition, the materials obtained from killing the demonic beasts would belong to them. The city guards would even have additional rewards. At this time, everyone's hearts were at ease. Leng Shiqi had a different idea in his heart. Chapter 208. At noon the next day, nearly 2,000 city guards gathered in the square of the demon-suppressing town, including the commander Lei Yuanwu and the 2 deputy commanders. It was just that those spirit cultivators of the pure spirit realm did not participate in this mission. For them, even if it was a rank 2 demonic beast, it was difficult for them to deal with. Even if they went out, they would die in vain. Such a commotion naturally attracted the attention of everyone in the city. Many people gathered together from afar and chatted with each other. There are not many people in the city. What are the city guards doing? Don't you know? Yesterday, the city guards said that they would go out of the city to eliminate the demonic beasts. What? Go out of the city? But there are many rank 3 demonic beasts outside. Don't you see that man? That's Lei Yuanwu, the commander of the city guards, a master of the spirit gang realm. With Commander Lei, the rank 3 demonic beasts can be killed easily. What's there to be afraid of? But even so, casualties are unavoidable. Yes, so it's our fortune to have such a commander and such a city guard. Leng Shiqi was also standing in the crowd in light armor. But because he was a little short, he was very inconspicuous in the crowd. Squeak. The gate of the demon-suppressing town was opened, making a heavy sound. Lei Yuanwu didn't talk much nonsense. He waved his hand and took the lead to walk out of the city. The 2,000 city guards behind him passed through the gate like fish. Not long after they left the demon-suppressing town, they could hear the roars of the demonic beasts. At this time, Lei Yuanwu said, "After an hour, all the Descartes will enter the mountain range. And then after an hour, all the guards will enter." Everyone said in unison, "We obey the Grand Commander's orders." Then Lei Yuanwu walked straight into the demon miasma mountain range with the 2 deputy commanders. Leng Shiqi looked at the 3 people and knew that the masters of the 4 realms of celestial being were the real main force of eliminating the demonic beasts this time. And the more than 1,000 spirit cultivators of the spirit transformation realm were just assisting in eliminating the rank 2 demonic beasts. Lei Yuanwu was a master of gang spirit realm, and the 2 deputy commanders were also in spirit aperture realm. The 3rd rank evil beast was indeed powerful, but it was nothing in front of the 3 of them. Not long after the 3 of them rushed into the mountain range, the miserable howls of demonic beasts could be heard. These sounds were incessant, and only stopped after an hour. At this moment, Wei Hongyi and the other Descartes knew that it was time for them to act. The Grand Commander and the others had already killed most of the Class 3 demonic beasts. The rest of the demonic beasts would be left to them to deal with. Wei Hongyi turned to Leng Shiqi and the other captains and said, "When you enter the demonic miasma mountains, don't be rash and greedy. Every guard will only deal with 1 second-order demon beast. I hope that when I return, all of you will still be here." The captains, including Leng Shiqi, said, "Yes, sir." Wei Hongyi nodded and entered the demonic miasma mountain range with the other Descartes. The rest of the people still quietly obeyed the order and waited for an hour before they poured into the mountain range. Leng Shiqi entered from the side of the mountain range with his 7 spirit cultivators in the spirit transformation realm. The outermost Class 3 demonic beasts in the mountain range had been cleaned up by Lei Yuanwu and the others, but unfortunately, the corpses of the demonic beasts were gone. Originally, Leng Shiqi thought that he could pick them up, but now it seemed that the corpses of Class 3 demonic beasts were also valuable materials. Of course, Lei Yuanwu and the others would not leave them here. Now there were no Class 3 demonic beasts here. With the strength of the 8 of them, It was not difficult to kill Class 2 demonic beasts, but they did not relax at all. Soon they found a Class 2 demonic beast, a two-headed demonic wolf. Leng Shiqi took advantage of its unpreparedness and directly displayed the path of ice. In an instant, a large amount of cold air rushed out and sealed the two-headed demonic wolf. The others also cooperated very well. After Leng Shiqi's cold air rushed out, they immediately raised their weapons and rushed forward. In an instant, all kinds of light flashed and the two-headed demonic wolf's head was directly cut off. However, the two-headed demonic wolf was not dead yet. Leng Shiqi flicked his finger, and a fire arrow flew past, completely destroying the two-headed demonic wolf's life force. At this time, Ding Zhou scratched his head. He felt a little unreal. He said, "This is a two-headed demonic wolf. It is known for its ferocity among Class 2 demonic beasts. It is very difficult to deal with. It died just like that?" Ding Zhou's words were also the thoughts of the others. They used to be demonic beast hunters, and often fought with demonic beasts. Of course, they knew how difficult it was to deal with demonic beasts. If it was in the past, they would at least be injured if they wanted to kill the two-headed demonic wolf. If they were not careful, they might even lose their lives. But now they killed the two-headed demonic wolf so easily? And the one who caused all of this was their captain, Leng Shiqi. It was Leng Shiqi who was the first to discover the two-headed demon wolf. He used a powerful spell to seal it and frostbite it. That was why they were able to attack with all their strength without any hesitation. That was why they were able to kill the two-headed demon wolf so easily. At this time, Ding Zhou said in a sincere tone, "Captain, I am completely convinced by you." Even Deng Li lowered his head, and the others naturally began to flatter him again. Only Yang Zhengqi looked as if he was used to such a scene. Leng Shiqi waved his hand and said, Okay, deal with the demonic wolf's body. Go back and sell the valuable materials. Everyone will divide it equally." Ding Zhou immediately said, No. It was all thanks to Captain that we were able to kill this demonic beast. "How can we?" Leng Shiqi interrupted him. "Ding Zhou, you are treating me as an outsider." Ding Zhou paused and said, "This okay, but I will remember Captain's kindness. Let's continue forward." After dealing with the two-headed demonic wolf's body, they continued to walk deeper into the mountain range. They encountered more and more rank 2 demonic beasts. But every time they worked together, they easily killed the demonic beasts. Along the way, they also had a lot of demonic beast materials on them. At the same time, Wei Hongyi was fighting with a huge earth rat. This earth rat looked ordinary, but it was a genuine rank 3 demonic beast, earth-binding rat. Wei Hongyi's clothes had long been torn, and 4 crystal-clear spirit veins were exposed on his arms. He didn't use any weapons and only used his bare hands to beat up the earth-binding rat. Especially the center of the earth-binding rat's back, there was a bowl-sized bloody hole. Wei Hongyi suddenly smashed out with his fists. His spirit power violently moved, and he actually had the power to move mountains and rivers. The earth-binding rat's 2 small eyes spun around, and then it suddenly drilled into the ground. Then Wei Hongyi only saw a small bump on the ground, and it escaped at an astonishing speed. When Wei Hongyi saw the direction the earth-binding rat escaped, his face suddenly changed. He shouted, "Not good." Chapter 209. Boom! A huge demonic beast fell to the ground. Ding Zhou, Yang Zhengqi, and the others habitually went up to skin the corpse. This was already the 9th rank 2 demonic beast that Leng Shiqi and the others had killed. If it was in the past, they wouldn't even dare to think that they could kill so many rank 2 demonic beasts in just half a day. This also included the time they had to rest and recover their spirit energy. They were all very glad that they had joined the city guards, and even more glad that Leng Shiqi had become the captain. Their harvest today alone was equivalent to what they had earned in the past month. Other than that, when they returned, the city guards would have additional rewards. The most important thing was that they didn't feel any pressure or danger at all. It was as if they had picked it up for free. Just as they were filled with joy, Leng Shiqi suddenly discovered that there was a small mound on the ground that was rapidly moving over, and he could even feel a huge aura from it. Leng Shiqi immediately shouted, "Get out of the way!" Although his reminder was timely, the others reacted too slowly. Before he finished speaking, he saw a giant rat suddenly break out of the ground. Its two large and sharp front teeth bit down and directly tore a person in half. This demonic beast was the earthbound rat that Wei Hongyi had beaten to the point of fleeing. Third-rank demonic beast? Everyone turned pale with fright. How could there be a third-rank demonic beast here? Weren't they all cleaned up by the great commander and the Descartes? However, even though they were shocked, they still hurriedly scattered. The earthbound rat licked the blood from the corner of its mouth, its eyes filled with ferocity. It had been beaten up by Wei Hongyi until it was covered in wounds, and it had escaped with great difficulty. Now that it had encountered a weak spirit cultivator of the spirit transformation realm, it could use it as a meal. The earthbound rat immediately locked onto another person, and that person was Deng Li. The earthbound rat opened its bloody mouth and bared its ferocious fangs as it pounced forward. Moreover, its speed was too fast, so fast that Deng Li had no chance of dodging it. He was young, and his will was not strong enough. At this time, his legs were actually trembling. Even if he wanted to run, he could not. Deng Li's face was filled with fear and despair, but just as he thought he was about to die, a thick ice wall suddenly appeared in front of him. At the same time, he felt someone push him, and a strong force pushed him to the side. Deng Li looked over in surprise and saw the back of a hunchbacked old man. It was Lung Shiqi. Kaka. Bang. The ice wall looked very sturdy, but in front of the power of a rank 3 monster, it was still too weak. In the blink of an eye, it was shattered. Lung Shiqi moved his hands, and more than a dozen earth spikes appeared around him. He waved them forward, and all the earth spikes stabbed at the earthbound rat. The dozen or so earth spikes immediately crumbled, but at least they managed to block the earthbound rat's attack. Lung Shiqi shouted without turning his head, "Go back and meet up with the other guards." Deng Li subconsciously said, "What about you, Captain?" Unknowingly, he finally called out the word Captain. Perhaps he did not even realize it himself. Lung Shiqi still had his back to everyone, and said in a deep voice, "Go back. This is my order." After the earthbind rat's attack failed, it immediately stared at Lung Shiqi. It bared its teeth and was ready to attack again at any time. Seeing this situation, the others did not dare to stay any longer, but they never thought that someone would cover for them. They were all experienced people. Even before this, they only had a good impression of Lung Shiqi, but they were not sincere. But now they finally knew that there was still friendship in this world. Ding Zhou secretly sighed and turned to run. In his opinion, spiritual casters were not good at fighting one-on-one. Lung Shiqi was probably dead. Yang Zhengqi hesitated for a moment, and followed closely behind. The reason he hesitated was not because he was touched by Lung Shiqi, but because if Lung Shiqi died here, he did not know when the centipede curse in his body would be lifted. Deng Li was the last to leave. Before he left, he said, "I will repay you for saving my life in the future." After everyone left, Lung Shiqi revealed a faint smile. If one looked at him from the front, they would find that Lung Shiqi's eyes had turned blue. The moment the earthbind rat rushed out of the ground, Lung Shiqi immediately noticed the wounds on its body, especially the bloody hole on its back. He immediately activated Byakugan. He found that although the earthbind rat looked extremely ferocious, many of its meridians were broken. Not only that, even the bones of one of its hind legs were cracked, and some of its organs were damaged. To put it simply, this earthbound rat was already seriously injured. Lung Shiqi was now at the 9th layer of the spirit transformation realm. He might be able to fight against a seriously injured rank 3 demonic beast. If he could kill the earthbind rat, not only could he use its demonic beast blood to increase his cultivation by leaps and bounds, he could also obtain a rank 3 demonic beast core. That was why he chose to stay, not to protect the others. Lung Shiqi stretched out his fingers, and used them as a sword to shoot out 2 frosty sword energies. Without the support of a spirit sword, these 2 sword energies weren't very powerful and couldn't hurt the earthbind rat at all. However, they had successfully attracted its hatred. After shooting out the 2 rays of cold sword energy, Lung Shiqi stepped on the black fog and flew in the opposite direction from everyone. The earthbind rat was hit by the 2 rays of cold sword energy, and immediately chased after Lung Shiqi. It was not slow at all. After a short while, Lung Shiqi saw that the earthbind rat was about to catch up. He activated Byakugan and saw that there was no one else around, so he relaxed. Lung Shiqi's body began to grow as he sped away. At the same time, a set of brown armor appeared on his body. At the same time, 9 demonic tattoos appeared on his right arm and his aura sword. Lung Shiqi had activated both the Spirit Ruin Beast King and the Zhu Crag Beast's Beast Origin Battle tattoos. Then Lung Shiqi's body stopped abruptly. He turned around and punched out. This punch, enhanced by the double Beast Origin Battle runes, was like a Tiger King treading on waves and breaking rivers. The earthbind rat was about to catch up to Lung Shiqi, but what greeted it was the ferocious tiger wave-stomping fist. The earthbind rat didn't care. It just opened its bloody mouth and was about to bite Lung Shiqi in half. Suddenly, a sticky black liquid shot out from its bloody mouth. Lung Shiqi's ferocious punch seemed to be unparalleled. However, with a slight movement of his feet, his body drifted away like a piece of cotton in the wind, narrowly avoiding the black liquid. However, the earthbind rat turned around nimbly and continued to bite Lung Shiqi. Lung Shiqi didn't panic at all. He moved again and appeared beside the earthbound rat in an instant. His fist actually caused the roar of a fierce tiger to ring out as it struck down. Chapter 210. Lung Shiqi's fierce tiger wave-stomping fist finally landed on the earthbind rat's back, and it was aimed at the wound on its back. A violent force with a murderous intent penetrated deep into bound rat's wound. The force of the fist tore the wound even wider, and a surge of internal energy poured into his body, destroying his already broken body. Lung Shiqi had used several ultimate moves to kill the dying Zhu Crag Beast not long ago, but that was because the Zhu Crag Beast's defense was too strong, and the earthbind rat was obviously much weaker in this regard. Moreover, Lung Shiqi was even stronger than before. Squeak squeak. The earthbind rat let out a strange scream. It wanted to fight back, but how could Lung Shiqi give it the chance? 2 purple curved blades appeared in his hands at some unknown time. The spirit force around him surged and 2 dreamy purple blade lights bloomed from the curved blades. With Lung Shiqi's cultivation at the 9th level of the spirit transformation realm, his half-moon light slash was almost 10 feet long. The 2 saber lights swallowed the earthbind rat like they were devouring the heavens and the earth. However, a layer of earth-colored light appeared on the earthbind rat's body. Lung Shiqi's half-moon light slash was blocked by this layer of light and couldn't move an inch forward. When the 2 collided, there was an ear-piercing sound. However, the earth-colored light on the earthbind rat was quickly fading, and Lung Shiqi's blade lights were also being worn down. Now it was time for a battle of strength. Lung Shiqi had activated 2 Beast Origin Battle tattoos, and was amplified by the demonic tattoos. His strength was between the Spirit Transformation Realm and the Spirit Vein Realm. The earthbind rat was a rank 3 demonic beast, but it was seriously injured. This time, they felt like they were evenly matched. However, the earthbind rat was not simple. Just as they were in a stalemate, the earthbind rat's tail suddenly grew a lot longer, and lashed out like a long whip. Lung Shiqi didn't expect the earthbind rat to have this kind of method. The tail was too fast, and even with the spirit steps, it was difficult to dodge. At this moment, Lung Shiqi had an idea. He controlled the 2 saber auras in front of him, just in time for the earthbind rat's tail to collide with the 2 extremely sharp saber auras. With a poochie sound, the earthbind rat's tail was directly cut into 2 halves. The earthbind rat immediately went berserk. Lung Shiqi hurriedly retreated. He withdrew his saber and formed a hand seal. At the same time, he pulled his arms forward, drawing a long stream of blood from the wound on the earthbind rat's back. The earthbind rat's aura suddenly weakened. With a thought from Lung Shiqi, 4 earthen walls rose around the earthbind rat, trapping it within. Of course, he didn't expect the earthbind rat's tail would be able to trap the earthbind rat. He was just trying to buy a bit of time. Sure enough, in the next moment, the 4 walls collapsed at the same time. The earthbind rat rushed at Lung Shiqi with red eyes. However, at this time, Lung Shiqi was holding the jade sword in his hand. There were 9 demonic patterns on the jade-colored sword, and the seemingly gentle jade light hid a dense killing intent. Just as the earthbind rat rushed over, Lung Shiqi's figure trembled and instantly turned into 18 phantoms. Soon after, the 18 jade swords pierced down from all angles with streaks of light blue frosty sword chi. The earthbind rat shattered several phantoms in the blink of an eye. At the same time, the earth-colored light appeared on its body again, but this time, the light was much dimmer and uneven. Under the observation of Lung Shiqi's Byakugan, the remaining 10 phantoms all found a flaw in the earth-colored light. The jade sword stabbed a dozen wounds, and at the same time, the frost sword chi entered the earthbind rat's body, causing frostbite in many parts of its flesh. The earthbind rat's body stiffened for a moment. Lung Shiqi stretched out a finger, and a layer of faint flames appeared at the tip of his finger. He wrote the word fire in the air. When the word fire finished its last stroke, it carried a rolling heat wave and landed on the earthbind rat's body. The blazing flames burned the earthbind rat's skin and flesh, and there was even faint black smoke coming out of it. At this time, Lung Shiqi sensed that the earthbind rat's life force was beginning to dissipate, and his body was gradually unable to take it. Just as he was about to give the earthbind rat the final blow, the earthbind rat opened its mouth and spat out 2 huge front teeth. Lung Shiqi reacted quickly and hurriedly dodged to the side, but he was still shot in the left shoulder by one of the front teeth. An unimaginably powerful force swept over, instantly sending Lung Shiqi flying. At the same time, a piercing pain came from his left shoulder. Lung Shiqi looked down. At this time, the armor on his left shoulder was completely broken, and a sharp blood-stained front tooth was embedded in his shoulder. He was shocked. The armor on his body could not be damaged by even a level 2 spirit weapon, but now it was completely shattered. Fortunately, he had this armor, otherwise his entire shoulder and arm would have been separated, and he would not be far from death. Lung Shiqi was secretly shocked. Is this a level 3 monster beast? Even if it is seriously injured, it is not something that an ordinary spirit transformation realm cultivator can deal with. However, the earthbind rat without its front teeth was like a tiger with its teeth pulled out. Lung Shiqi endured the pain and pulled out his front teeth and used his spirit chi to seal the wound. He looked at the earthbind rat, whose aura was even weaker, and did not dare to be careless. He did not get close, but used a few spirit techniques to completely kill the earthbind rat. Immediately after, Lung Shiqi hurriedly removed the beast origin battle pattern. Then his body staggered and he almost lost his balance. The consumption of the Zhu Rock Beast's beast origin battle pattern was even greater than he had imagined. At this moment, his entire body was extremely sore and weak. Fortunately, he had not fought with the earthbind rat for long, and had not damaged his meridians. He then swallowed 2 pills to recover his spirit energy. Just as he was about to extract the earthbind rat's demon blood, he saw a familiar aura rushing over. It was Wei Hongyi. Lung Shiqi did not want to expose himself, so he directly put the earthbind rat's corpse into the system space and left. However, he did not go to meet up with his guards. Instead, he had other plans. Not long after, a worried Wei Hongyi rushed over. He could clearly recognize that there were traces of a battle between a spirit cultivator and a monster beast. Furthermore, he also discovered the earthbind rat's front teeth, so he knew that someone was fighting with the earthbind rat. Wei Hongyi observed his surroundings and muttered to himself in confusion. Strange, there are traces of blood and front teeth of the earthbind rat here. It seems that the earthbind rat has been killed. But who did it? Could it be another squad leader? No, there are clearly traces of spirit techniques here. There are no spirit cultivators in the 4 realms of heaven in the city guards. Who could it be? Could it be that other than the city guards, there are others who have entered the demon miasma mountain range? That's not right. The demon-suppressing town has already been sealed. It's impossible for anyone else to come out. Strange, really strange. Chapter 211. After killing the earthbind rat, Lung Shiqi found a remote place and sank into the ground to recover his spirit force and heal his wounds. He looked at the wound that almost went through his shoulder and felt a bit of fear. He made up his mind to not be so reckless before he reached the spirit vein stage. Then he used pills and the netherworld rune diagram to treat his wounds. Unfortunately, the wound was too deep and would not heal in a short period of time. Right now, his entire left arm was weak and his spirit force was not flowing smoothly. He estimated that he could only use about 70% of his strength during this period of time. Since this was the case, he planned to rest for 2 days and refine the earthbind rat's demonic blood. After Leng Shiqi adjusted his condition, he took out the earthbind rat's corpse. He first dug out the earthbind rat's demonic core. It was a demonic core that looked like a mud ball. Leng Shiqi looked at the demonic core and hesitated. Since he had another rank 3 demonic core, if he refined this demonic core into a beast origin battle pattern, his battle strength would definitely increase. However, Leng Shiqi gave up in the end. First of all, the Spirit Ruin Beast King's beast origin battle pattern was very convenient for him. It could also change his body shape to hide his identity, so he did not want to change it so easily. Second of all, just the Vermilion Crag Beast's beast origin battle pattern was already too much for him. If he added the Earthbind Rat, he might not be able to start refining 2 beast origin battle patterns at the same time. Third of all, the Earthbind Rat's demonic core should be able to increase his earth spirit force. However, this was purely a support effect for Leng Shiqi, so he was not very satisfied with its attributes. If this Yao core had clearly increased his strength, Leng Shiqi would not have hesitated. Leng Shiqi could only put away the Earthbind Rat's demonic core. Then he began to refine the Earthbind Rat's demonic blood. With the experience of refining the Vermilion Crag Beast's demonic blood, Leng Shiqi was much more successful this time. He finished refining it in about half an hour. At this moment, his cultivation was very close to the peak of the 9th level of the spirit transformation realm. Leng Shiqi estimated that he would be able to reach the peak of 9th stage as long as he refined less than 10 rank 2 demonic beasts' blood. This time, he followed the city guards to clear out the demonic beasts. Now that most of the rank 3 demonic beasts in the periphery had been cleared out, it wouldn't be difficult for him to hunt down 10 rank 2 demonic beasts. At this moment, he suddenly realized that if he had known that the city guards would leave the city to hunt down the demonic beasts, he wouldn't have needed to join the city guards and take such a long detour. However, he shook his head and muttered, "There's no if in this world. Besides, if I didn't join the city guards, I wouldn't have gotten the soul-splitting technique." At this moment, in the inner area of the demonic miasma mountain range, Lei Yuanwu and the 2 deputy commanders were standing with gloomy expressions. After the 3 of them massacred the tier 3 demonic beasts in the periphery, they planned to enter the inner area to see what the situation was like. However, after they entered the inner region, they realized that something was wrong. This place was too quiet. They had entered the inner region many times before, so they naturally knew that there were not only rank 3 demonic beasts in the inner region, but also rank 4 and rank 5 demonic beasts. It could be said that there were many demonic beasts in the inner region. However, they had been in the inner region for a long time, but they hadn't seen a single demonic beast. Lei Yuanwu said in a deep voice, "Deputy Commander Qiao, you're the most familiar with the inner region. What do you think?" Deputy Commander Qiao had lived in the demon-suppressing town for a long time, and had entered the inner region many times. However, he shook his head and said, "Senior Commander, I've been in the demon-suppressing town for decades and have never seen the inner region so peaceful. There must be something going on." The other Deputy Commander Ma said, "It must be related to the Blood Beast sect and the Imperial Beast Abode. They were the ones who released the news about the demonic beast tide. Now, it seems that they were the ones behind it." Deputy Commander Qiao agreed with him. "That's right. At that time, I was suspicious. Why would these 2 sects travel thousands of miles from the northern wilderness to the demon-suppressing town? Not long after they arrived, they said that there would be a demonic beast tide. This is too coincidental. Moreover, even if what they said was true, why did they enter the demonic miasma mountain range and not return yet? All of these things show that the demonic miasma mountain range will not erupt with a demonic beast tide, but they are deliberately using this as an excuse to prevent spirit cultivators from easily setting foot in this place." Lei Yuanwu looked at Deputy Commander Qiao with admiration and said, "I've already guessed these things, and the old city lord also knows about it." The 2 deputy commanders were puzzled. If the old city lord knows, why would he let them do as they please? With this, the demon-suppressing town has become much more desolate. Lei Yuanwu sighed slightly. So what if he knows? The old city lord is a great expert of the unity of heaven and man realm. He can intimidate a region, but in front of the two top sects, he has no room to speak. Do you know that one of the three great beast kings of the imperial beast abode, the thousand-legged beast king, the great elder of the blood beast sect, Elder Xie, has personally come to the demonic miasma mountain range? What? The two deputy commanders could not help but exclaim. Of course, they knew who the thousand-legged beast king of the imperial beast abode and the great elder of the blood beast sect were. They were experts who surpassed the four realms of heaven. They were existences that they had to look up to. They had heard of the rumors before, but they had always thought that it was just a rumor. They did not expect it to be true. Why would such an expert personally come to the demonic miasma mountain range? Could it be that there was a peerless treasure in the mountain range that they did not know of? Lei Yuanwu also could not think of it. He only knew that even he had no room to interfere in this matter, so he said, "Now that the matter has been confirmed, let's go back after clearing out the rank 3 demonic beasts. Remember, when you go back, you must not leak this matter out. Otherwise, it will only bring disaster to our demon-suppressing town." The two deputy commanders knew the seriousness of the matter and nodded. This matter was obviously caused by the Imperial Beast Abode and the Blood Beast sect, but the truth of this matter could not be made public. Otherwise, even the demon-suppressing town would not be able to withstand their anger. Although the demon-suppressing town was a city of the Thunderblaze dynasty, the dynasty would definitely not offend two top forces for a demon-suppressing town, especially two top forces that did not belong to the Thunderblaze dynasty. Even if the dynasty wanted to deal with them, they could not send troops to the north to suppress them. Then Lei Yuanwu and the other two returned to the periphery and quickly killed the rank 3 demonic beasts. In the evening, they prepared to return with the city guards. At this time, Wei Hongyi summoned his captain and guards. Soon, he found that Leng Shiqi was not there. He frowned and asked Ding Zhou, "Where is your captain?" Ding Zhou stammered and told him about their encounter with the rank 3 demonic beasts. Wei Hongyi was shocked when he heard this, and then a strange look flashed across his eyes. Chapter 212. 4 days had passed since the city guards had cleared out the demonic beasts. In these 4 days, Leng Shiqi had continuously refined the blood of 9 rank 2 demonic beasts. His cultivation had finally reached the peak of the 9th level of the spirit transformation realm. However, he was not happy. This was because he only had the qualifications to break through to the spirit pulse realm. There were countless cultivators at the peak of the 9th level of the spirit transformation realm. But how many of them could break through the shackles? There were still 2 huge obstacles waiting for Leng Shiqi in front of him. In order to break through to the spirit pulse realm from the spirit transformation realm, he had to do 2 things at the same time. First, he had to sublimate his Qi Si into a spirit Si. This required a very pure spirit energy. Just this alone was enough to give Leng Shiqi a headache. Most of his spirit energy came from refining demonic beasts, so it was not very pure. In addition, he had to open a spirit pulse in his body. Spirit pulses were different from ordinary meridians. There were a total of 72 spirit pulses in a cultivator's body. Depending on the cultivation method, the spirit pulse realm would have different spirit pulses. As long as he could sublimate his spirit Si and open another spirit pulse, he would successfully break through to the spirit pulse realm. Leng Shiqi was not lacking in methods to open spirit pulses. The blood slaughter 7 fiendish arts that the blood robe pavilion had passed down to him completely recorded the method to open spirit pulses. There were even insights left behind by predecessors. This was the most enviable thing about disciples of large sections. If it was an ordinary rogue cultivator, no matter how hard they worked, they would not be able to step into the spirit pulse realm for the rest of their lives. On the other hand, Leng Shiqi not only had the 7 fiend blood slaughter art, but also the 9 nether mageweth diagram. It was just that the method to open the spirit meridians of the 2 cultivation methods were different. Therefore, what Leng Shiqi needed the most now was to sublimate his Qi Si into a spirit Si within 3 months. However, this was a painstaking effort that required years of accumulation. It was impossible to complete in a short period of time. Not to mention 3 months. Even 3 years might not be enough. Now that he had reached this point, Leng Shiqi had no other choice. Therefore, he could only place his hopes on his last resort. That was the system. Leng Shiqi then opened the system and looked at his information. Name, Leng Shiqi, Lu Xingji Cultivation. 9th level of the Spirit Transformation Realm Cultivation Method. Rank 3 Cultivation Method Beast Origin Demonic Art. Rank 4 Method Blood Slaughter 7 Fiendish Art, incomplete. Rank 4 Cultivation Method 9 Nether Magic Pattern, incomplete. Bloodline. Spiritual Skills. Perfection of the 3rd Stage Spiritual Skill, Flying Rain Saber Technique, Level 3 Spiritual Skill, 1000 Silver Thread Brushing Hands, has reached perfection. Rank Spirit Skill Fire Skill Rank Spirit Skill Rank 4 Spiritual Skill, Earth Fiend Demon Shadow Claw, System Coins of. Leng Shiqi looked at the 1,500 system coins and smiled. Ever since he had left Bloodmist Island, he had only won the lottery when he had killed Chu Xinran. After that, he had been saving up system coins. After coming out of the tomb of Boiwanhu, he plundered Go Huarong of the Qingkou Hall and obtained about 700 system coins. Later, when he destroyed the Golden Wing Academy, he killed the eldest son of the Tang family, Tang Hepu, and 4 disciples of the Tang family. These people also contributed a lot of system coins to him. The rest was the system coins he had obtained from selling monster corpses and monster cores for the past 3 months. As the saying goes, money should be spent where it is needed. Now was the most critical moment for Leng Shiqi. He made up his mind to open the lottery page. He chose the intermediate lottery option and pressed it 15 times in a row. Bursts of rainbow-colored light flashed one after another, and 15 prizes appeared in front of Leng Shiqi. He glanced at them briefly, and then put away the obviously useless things into his mustard seed bag, leaving only 8 things that could be considered useful. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the intermediate prize. Passive skill, Hell's Curse. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the intermediate prize. Golden Heart Bow. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the intermediate prize. Sword Drawing Technique. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the intermediate prize. Secret Art, Magic Cultivation. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the intermediate prize. Card Healing Touch. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the intermediate prize. 17 Swordsmanship of Mount Song. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the intermediate prize. Wings Soaring Limited Time. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the intermediate prize. Flower Picking. Looking at these prizes, Leng Shiqi began to count them one by one. The first was the passive skill Hell's Curse. He remembered that this was the passive skill of a game character, the Warden of Soul Lock. It was a skill that absorbed the souls of the dead to strengthen oneself. Leng Shiqi carefully read the description of the prize. The effect of the Hell's Curse in this world was similar to that in the game. In the game, it strengthened the character's armor and spell strength. In this world, it strengthened his physical strength and mental strength. This is a bit interesting, but I don't know the specific effect. I have to try it when I encounter a rank 2 monster. Leng Shiqi muttered to himself and looked at the next prize, the Golden Heart Bow. This was a rank 3 longbow that was light gold in color. It was much better than the original tendon-changing bow. However, there was nothing special about it, so he put it away. He was more interested in the rank 4 spiritual skill, Sword Drawing Technique. This was a spiritual skill that used a high-speed sword drawing attack to cause unexpected damage to the enemy. What Leng Shiqi cared about was that this spiritual skill seemed to have a certain degree of compatibility with the Half-Moon Swift Slash. Perhaps in the future, he could integrate the sword drawing technique into the Half-Moon Swift Slash. Fortunately, Leng Shiqi directly cultivated the sword drawing technique to the Great Perfection realm. A lot of insights appeared in his mind, which made him even more certain that it was indeed possible to integrate this into the Half-Moon Swift Slash. However, this process still needed to be slowly comprehended. The secret art, magic cultivation, was something similar to a passive skill. It could slightly increase the power of spiritual skills. The card, Healing Touch, was a card that could be used for healing. Moreover, The healing effect was not bad. Lung Shiqi looked at the wound on his left shoulder. His physical body was already relatively strong. In the past 4 days, he had swallowed a pill to recover his blood and qi. Now the wound was almost healed. Therefore, he put this card into the system space. Next, he picked up a not-thin secret book. This was the rank 4 spiritual skill 17 sword techniques of Mount Song. This sword technique came from the Mount Song sect of the 5 mountain sword sect. However, Lung Shiqi was not familiar with this sword technique. He only vaguely remembered that this was a relatively comprehensive and mediocre set of sword techniques. Lung Shiqi immediately cultivated this sword technique to the great perfection realm. Naturally, he was clear about the characteristics of this sword technique. The 17 sword techniques of Mount Song was divided into 8 inner and 9 outer sword techniques. It could be said to be a combination of hardness and gentleness, with both offense and defense. However, the overall sword technique was still inclined towards majestic sword techniques. With this sword technique, Lung Shiqi's heart was finally relieved. He could not help but think to himself, "Finally, I have a sword technique that I can use." Chapter 213. When it came to swordsmanship, the only thing Lung Shiqi could use was Dazzling Blossom. However, this was one of his trump cards and consumed a lot of spirit qi, so he couldn't use it as a normal swordsmanship. However, other than this move, he could only use the channel impacting sword qi and frost sword qi. Although these 2 sword qis were also level 3 spiritual techniques, they weren't low quality. However, the awkward thing was that Lung Shiqi's opponents were either much stronger or much weaker than him. The channel impacting sword qi and frost sword qi were only icing on the cake. Now that he cultivated the Mount Song 17 swordsmanship, he finally had a high-level swordsmanship that could face his opponents head-on. After sorting out his emotions, Lung Shiqi continued to read. Wings. Empyrean was a pair of palm-sized pure white wings. He carefully looked at the system's description, and then carefully put it away. If he used it well, it might be able to save his life. It was also one of his trump cards. As for the last prize, the flower-grasping posture, Lung Shiqi was a bit confused. This flower-grasping posture clearly belonged to Buddhism, but Lung Shiqi was confused because it wasn't a spiritual technique or a secret technique, but more like a mental cultivation method. A mental cultivation method that could suppress evil thoughts and cleanse the heart. After Lung Shiqi learned it with his skill points, he found that the flower-grasping posture was just like the breath-concealing technique and the mind-splitting technique. Then he used the flower-grasping posture. His right hand held the flower-grasping posture, and his left hand was under his right hand. A faint Buddhist light appeared on his body, making him look solemn and holy. As for Lung Shiqi, he felt that his mind had suddenly become clear. He felt like he had no more desires, and even his impatience to break through to the spirit vein stage had dissipated. After a short while, Lung Shiqi stopped using the flower-grasping posture, and felt a bit more relaxed. He also didn't care about breaking through to the spirit pulse realm anymore. However, other than that, there were no other effects. He had never seen such a miraculous secret technique before. He said in a low voice, "It's truly miraculous." But at this time, Lung Shiqi suddenly remembered something. This world doesn't seem to have Buddhist cultivation techniques, nor does it have any Buddhist sects. Since he was able to draw a Buddhist mantra from the system, he might be able to reappear the Buddha's aura in this other world in the future. After counting all the prizes that could be used, Lung Shiqi's heart was filled with both joy and sadness. He was happy because these prizes had indeed increased his strength and potential. However, it was a pity that none of them could help him break through to the spirit pulse realm in a short period of time. Lung Shiqi had a headache. Since the lottery couldn't help him, he had to think of other ways. It was also because of these prizes that Lung Shiqi remembered that he had a useful prize from the lottery draw in Shangyang City. He hadn't used it until now. Then Lung Shiqi took out a palm-sized brown disc from his mustard seed bag. It looked a little worn out. This was the treasure-seeking disc. The treasure-seeking disc could lock onto a treasure in the surroundings. However, the quality of the treasure depended on luck. People said that there were many heavenly treasures in the demonic Miasma mountain range. Perhaps they could try their luck there. Lung Shiqi held the treasure-seeking disc with a hint of hope in his eyes. Right now this treasure-seeking disc could be said to be his last hope. Then he injected his spirit energy to activate the treasure-seeking disc. The disc immediately flashed white, green, blue and other different colors. Finally, it locked onto a purple light. Lung Shiqi's heart skipped a beat. Although he didn't know what level of treasure the purple light represented, it definitely wasn't low. Then the purple light on the disc condensed into the shape of an arrow and pointed in a direction. Lung Shiqi frowned because that direction pointed to the inner region of the demonic miasma mountain range. The inner region was not a place he could set foot in. However, he could also understand that the outer region of the demonic miasma mountain range had always been the place with the most spirit cultivators. After thousands of years, even if there were some treasures in the outer region, they would have long been dug out. However, to enter the inner region, he was still a little afraid. He had almost fallen into a ditch when dealing with a heavily injured ground-binding rat. Wouldn't he be courting death if he rashly entered the inner region? That's not right. Maybe there really is a chance. Just as Lung Shiqi was hesitating, he suddenly thought of Lei Yuanwu and the other two. The city guards were clearing out the demonic beasts. Lei Yuanwu and the other two took the lead to slaughter the rank 3 demonic beasts. However, they probably wouldn't be satisfied with dealing with the rank 3 demonic beasts in the outer region. If they have entered the inner region, it might not be as dangerous as I thought. Moreover, I have the Hand of Earth and Byakugan. If it's just to get the treasure, it might be possible. If the treasure is guarded by a demonic beast, I will turn around and leave. I will think of another way. Thinking of this, Lung Shiqi felt that he could make this trip. Since he had made up his mind, Lung Shiqi didn't hesitate. He simply packed up and went underground in the direction indicated by the treasure-seeking compass. However, the speed underground was not fast, and it would constantly consume spirit power. However, for safety reasons, Lung Shiqi still chose this method. The outer region of the demonic miasma mountain range was very large. Lung Shiqi didn't reach the border between the outer region and the inner region until the next day. After that, Lung Shiqi became even more careful. He constantly activated Byakugan, thinking that if he encountered a rank 3 demonic beast or stronger, he would immediately go around it. Although he could use the Hand of Earth to escape underground, high-level demonic beasts had all kinds of magical methods. For example, last time when he was chased by Sekongsho, the Starry Night Wolf King could clearly sense that Lung Shiqi was underground. There was also the earthbound rat that could directly burrow into the ground, and its burrowing speed was much faster than his. Therefore, even if he hid underground, it wasn't very safe. Lung Shiqi carefully entered the inner region. His heart was in his throat. However, after an hour, Lung Shiqi's face showed a somewhat strange expression. Because for more than an hour, he didn't even encounter a single demonic beast. Moreover, he was still using Byakugan. A large range was in his field of vision, but he still didn't find a single demonic beast. Could it be that the demonic beasts in the inner region were also cleared out by Lei Yuanwu? Impossible. There are not only rank 3 demonic beasts in the inner region, but also rank 4 and rank 5 demonic beasts. Even Lei Yuanwu and the others would have to retreat if they encountered a rank 5 demonic beast. Then why is the inner region so strangely quiet? Lung Shiqi was puzzled. However, the fact that there were no demonic beasts in the inner region was a wonderful thing for him. Then he continued to move in the direction indicated by the treasure-seeking compass. But gradually he felt that something was wrong. Chapter 214. The more Lung Shiqi walked, the more he felt that something was wrong. The entire inner region was deathly silent, which made him feel extremely strange. If that was all, it would be fine. What made Lung Shiqi even more unacceptable was that he felt that he was about to pass through the inner region, but the treasure-seeking plate was still pointing ahead. If he continued to walk forward, he would enter the central region of the demon miasma mountain range. There were rank 6 monsters inside, which were equivalent to the unity of heaven and man realm experts of the spirit cultivator realm. It was a terrifying existence on the same level as the 9 great netherworld blood cloak assassins of the blood cloak pavilion. In addition, he still remembered the expert who noticed his Byakugan not long ago. In the center of the mountain range, there were probably not only rank 6 monsters, but also experts from the Imperial Beast Camp and the Blood Beast sect. If the treasure that the treasure-seeking plate pointed to was only in the inner region, Lung Shiqi would still dare to enter to explore. However, it seemed that it was still in the center of the mountain range, so he hesitated. However, just as Lung Shiqi was hesitating, he suddenly discovered an aura in his Byakugan's field of vision. He had seen that aura before. It was the Blood Beast sect disciple who had appeared when he was secretly observing Cui Jing and his wife. The key was that this aura was weaker than Lung Shiqi's own, only at the 8th level of the spirit transformation realm. Lung Shiqi was puzzled. Blood Beast sect's people? This person is only at the spirit transformation realm, and dares to wander around the border between the inner region and the mountain range? At this moment, Lung Shiqi thought of a plan and immediately sneaked over. Chu Qiu was one of the elite disciples of the Blood Beast sect. He was already at the 8th level of the spirit transformation realm in his 20s, and had a high chance of breaking through to the spirit pulse realm before the age of 30. He was one of the disciples that the sect valued. This time he had followed the sect to the Demon Miasma mountain range to carry out an extremely important mission. He was proud of it. However, he was a little bored now. This was because his mission was to patrol the border between the inner region and the center of the mountain range. If he encountered other spirit cultivators, he would do his best to stop them. There were many people like him, and he was only in charge of this area. In his opinion, the beast tide was about to erupt, so who would dare to venture deep into the demonic Miasma mountain range at this time? While Chu Qiu was bored to death, he did not realize that a layer of cold air had appeared beneath his feet. By the time he felt a chill, it was already too late. A majestic cold air gushed out from the ground, freezing Chu Qiu before he could even open his mouth to shout. Following that, a pair of hands reached out from the ground and dragged Chu Qiu underground. Naturally, it was Lung Shiqi. After Lung Shiqi caught Chu Qiu by surprise, he didn't dare to delay, and quickly dragged Chu Qiu away from this place. During this process, he continued to release cold air to prevent Chu Qiu from breaking out of the ice. Lung Shiqi didn't stop until he was a distance away. At the same time, he didn't continue to release the cold air. Instead, he held the jade sword to Chu Qiu's neck. After a short while, Chu Qiu finally broke free from the ice, but he immediately felt the blade on his neck and was extremely shocked. He was a spirit cultivator at the late stage of the spirit transformation realm, and he thought that his strength was not bad. However, he was actually captured by this old man without anyone noticing. One had to know that the experts of the 4 realms of heaven and man were not far from the center of the mountain range, but he had disappeared without anyone noticing. Now his life was in the hands of others. Chu Qiu ignored the ice on his face and said hatefully, "Who are you? Do you know my identity?" Lung Shiqi smiled sinisterly and said, "Aren't you just a disciple of the Blood Beast sect? Since you know, let me go now and you might still have a chance to live. The experts of the sect are nearby, and they will soon notice that I have disappeared. When they find you, I'm afraid you will be fed to the blood beasts." Chu Qiu used the Blood Beast sect to suppress him. However, Lung Shiqi's hand moved slightly, and the jade sword cut open a bloody mark on Chu Qiu's neck. Chu Qiu's eyes finally revealed a look of fear. He looked at Lung Shiqi's cold expression, and he seemed to know that the other party really dared to kill him. Lung Shiqi really wanted to kill him, and his body even revealed a faint killing intent. He said, "This old man doesn't want to talk nonsense. I'll ask and you answer. Do you understand?" Chu Qiu shuddered inwardly and nodded his head honestly. Lung Shiqi asked, "Is the change in the Demon Miasma mountain range related to your Blood Beast sect? Will there really be a beast tide outbreak?" Chu Qiu hesitated for a moment, but still said, "It was us and the Imperial Beast Camp who worked together to drive the rank 3 demonic beasts from the inner regions to the outer regions, creating the illusion of a beast tide riot. Furthermore, we spread the news in order to expel the spirit cultivators from the mountain range." When Lung Shiqi heard this, he thought that it was indeed the case. There was no beast tide outbreak in the Demon Miasma mountain range at all. All of this was just as he had thought. It was all the doing of the Blood Beast sect and the Imperial Beast Camp behind the scenes. At the same time, he also found it strange that the Imperial Beast Camp and the Blood Beast sect were two completely hostile sects. So why would they work together to set up a trap? He continued to ask, what about the demonic beasts in the inner regions? There are quite a few rank 4 and rank 5 demonic beasts here. Where did they all go? Chuchio replied, the rank 4 and rank 5 demonic beasts have already developed some intelligence. They know that danger is coming, so they run and hide. That's why there are no demonic beasts in the inner regions. Danger is coming? Lung Shiqi keenly found this key point. He thought to himself, could it be that the experts of the two top forces have gathered, causing these demonic beasts to escape? However, he felt that things were not that simple, so he asked, danger? What kind of danger would cause the rank 4 and rank 5 demonic beasts to escape? At this time, Chuchio opened his mouth and finally said hesitantly, Senior, you already know enough. There are some things that you won't benefit from knowing. Why bother to get to the bottom of it? Lung Shiqi frowned. He quickly formed a seal with his left hand, and summoned a blood-colored centipede that was as thick as an arm. The centipede burrowed into Chuchio's body. Chuchio immediately convulsed in pain, but Lung Shiqi's sword was still on his neck, so he did not dare to move. Just like this, he was in so much pain that his face turned pale, and he even foamed at the mouth. Lung Shiqi saw that it was about time. He changed his seal and temporarily calmed the centipede curse, but Chuchio's body was still convulsing. After a while, he slowly recovered. Lung Shiqi said coldly, remember, I'm the one asking you. If you don't want all your meridians to be bitten and die in endless pain, tell me everything you know. Chuchio panted a few times and nodded heavily. Tell me, what is the purpose of you and the Imperial Beast Camp coming to the demonic Miasma Mountain Range? Chuchio weakly said something that shocked Lung Shiqi. He also understood why the Imperial Beast Camp and the Blood Beast sect had joined forces for the first time. Chapter 215. What Chuchio said was, in the center of the mountain range, there is a rank 6 monster beast that may undergo tribulation at any time. Rank 6 monster beast. Tribulation? Transformation. Chuchio's short sentence set off a huge wave in Lung Shiqi's heart. A rank 6 monster beast was already equivalent to a spirit cultivator at the unity of heaven and man realm. If it went any higher, wouldn't it be equivalent to a cultivator who had transcended the 4 realms of heaven and man? But what he didn't know before was that a rank 6 monster beast had to undergo tribulation to break through. Lung Shiqi was no stranger to the term tribulation, but he didn't expect there to be one in this world. And if a rank 6 monster beast successfully underwent tribulation, it would be recognized by heaven and earth and become a rank 7 monster beast. A rank 7 monster beast that could transform into a human. And the goal of the Imperial Beast Abode and Blood Beast sect was obviously this rank 6 monster beast that was about to undergo tribulation. These two sects were famous for their beast taming techniques. If this rank 6 monster beast successfully underwent tribulation, then it was very likely that they would capture it for their own use. After a monster beast underwent tribulation, there would be a period of weakness. The two sects had sent out so many experts, it seemed like they were determined to get it. So this is the real goal of the two top forces. Lung Shiqi finally understood everything. After understanding the whole story, Lung Shiqi asked some questions about himself. You, an 8th level spirit transformation realm cultivator, can safely wander around the center of the mountain range. Did you chase away all the monsters in the center? Chuchio answered honestly. Actually, not really. The rank 6 monster beast that is undergoing tribulation is an extremely rare species, the soul-leaving scorpion. Its aura has already been locked onto by the tribulation, but we don't know when it will descend. The other rank 6 monsters have already sensed the aura of the tribulation and ran further away. So now, not only the inner area, there are no other monsters in the center of the mountain range. Because of this, there is actually no danger here. Our people and the Imperial Beast Abode are patrolling the border between the inner area and the center of the mountain range. Lung Shiqi nodded in understanding. At the same time, he felt a little unlucky. The treasure-seeking compass must have pointed to the center of the mountain range, But now that there were so many experts gathered there, even if he had strange means, he would be easily discovered. He was wondering if he should wait until everything was over and take advantage of the fact that the other high-level demonic beasts had not returned to search for treasures. But at this moment, a thunderous roar suddenly resounded in the sky. Leng Shiqi's expression suddenly changed. He dragged Chu Qiu to the ground and looked up. They were still in the inner area of the demonic miasma mountain range. The sky here was originally filled with a faint miasma, but at this moment, the miasma in the sky had suddenly disappeared completely. It was as if it had been completely dispelled by that bolt of lightning. However, the mountain range did not become brighter. Instead, it became even darker. This was because boundless black clouds had appeared in the sky. These black clouds gave off an extremely terrifying oppressive feeling, causing Leng Shiqi to feel a little breathless. Chu Qiu was shocked. He stammered, "TT Heavenly Tribulation? This is the Heavenly Tribulation? No, this is just the precursor of the Heavenly Tribulation. I'm afraid that the soul-defying scorpion will undergo the tribulation in a day or two," Chu Qiu said with a trembling voice. Leng Shiqi turned to look at him. This Chu Qiu seemed to know a lot. In fact, what Leng Shiqi did not know was that these things were also recorded in detail in the blood clothing pavilion, but he had never seen them. Chu Qiu said, "Senior, I've told you everything you want to know. Now that the heavenly tribulation is about to arrive, it proves that what I said is true. In order to avoid being affected by the heavenly tribulation, the experts of the sect will definitely retreat and soon find that I'm missing. Senior, if you let me go now, I will definitely keep my mouth shut. I will not say a word about what happened today." Leng Shiqi looked at Chu Qiu, and a thought flashed through his mind. He said, "Okay, as long as you hand over the Beast Essence demonic method, I can let you go." The Beast Essence demonic method that Leng Shiqi cultivated was incomplete. Now that he had a disciple of the Blood Beast sect in his hands, he could ask for the rest of the method. Chu Qiu was shocked when he heard this, and his face instantly sank. "Senior, the Beast Essence demonic method is not something that can be cultivated by just anyone in the sect. For example, in our generation, only Zhuoduanya has cultivated this method. Moreover, the method in the sect is strictly forbidden to be spread to outsiders, otherwise it will become nourishment for the blood fiends. Moreover, even if I give it to you, once you are recognized to have used the Beast Essence demonic method, you will inevitably be hunted down by the sect." When Leng Shiqi heard this, he felt that Chu Qiu did not seem to be lying and felt that it was a pity. He could not help but think of the evil young man who captured Cui Jing and his wife as a guide. He should be the Zhuoduanya that Chu Qiu mentioned. Just hearing this name made him think of Zhuolaogui in the space under the Blood Fog Island. His Beast Essence demonic destruction technique was obtained from him. Was there some sort of relationship between Zhuoduanya and Zhuoduanya? However, Leng Shiqi did not have time to think too much at this time, because in the Byakugan's vision he did see several people with auras much stronger than him walking towards the inner area. They should be people from the Blood Beast sect or the Imperial Beast camp. Leng Shiqi knew that he could not stay here for long. The jade sword in his hand moved, and like a long river, the sword cut off Chu Qiu's head. He did not want to be hunted down by a top force like the Blood Beast sect in the future. Of course, he could not leave anyone alive. After Chu Qiu died, Leng Shiqi saw a light green ball of light float out of his body. He gently waved his hand, and the green ball of light floated over and entered his body. Leng Shiqi knew that this was the effect of the passive skill, Hell's Curse. After he absorbed the ball of light, he immediately felt that his spiritual power had increased slightly. His physical strength had also increased, but the increase was very small. Even so, he was very satisfied. He was only curious whether the soul he absorbed was Chu Qiu's soul, but he could not verify it. After that, Leng Shiqi searched Chu Qiu's body and buried it underground. He quickly left this place, far away from the people of the two sections. 2 days later, the heavenly tribulation descended. Leng Shiqi even retreated to the edge of the inner area, but he could still clearly feel the terrifying aura that was so strong that it made his heart palpitate. He looked up at the sky. At this time, the demonic miasma mountain range was completely covered with rolling black clouds, covering the sky. He also wanted to see what the legendary heavenly tribulation looked like. The disciples of the other two sects dared to stay here, so the heavenly tribulation would probably not affect them. Not long after, a few faint sounds of thunder came from the black clouds. The sound was not very loud, but it was intimidating. There was a kind of majesty that could not be offended. Gradually, the sound of thunder in the black clouds became more and more frequent. There were even a few dark purple lightning flashes occasionally. The lightning and thunder slowly gathered in the center of the mountain range. The black clouds there also formed a vortex, as if the heavenly punishment would descend at any time. And under the center of the black cloud vortex, there was a small mountain peak towering. On the peak of the mountain, there was a purple-black giant scorpion. It was the rank 6 demonic beast that was about to undergo the heavenly tribulation, the soul-departing scorpion. At this time, the soul-departing scorpion's purple eyes stared at the center of the black cloud vortex without any fear in its eyes. Chapter 2:16. The soul-departing scorpion showed no fear under the heavenly tribulation. Instead, it burst out with a soaring fighting spirit. Boom! The heavenly tribulation seemed to be dissatisfied with the soul-departing scorpion's actions, and without warning, a dark blue lightning as thick as an arm fell. Although this lightning bolt was small, Lung Shiqi could see it clearly even though he was standing far away. Just when the lightning fell, Lung Shiqi actually had an impulse to kneel to the sky. The dark blue lightning accurately struck the soul-departing scorpion, causing it to reveal a strange pain in its purple eyes. At the same time, its whole body rolled and emitted purple light. The purple light and the dark blue lightning reflected each other, appearing incomparably mysterious. The purple light on the soul-departing scorpion gradually dimmed, and the lightning also dissipated. This heavenly tribulation, the soul-departing scorpion safely passed. Lung Shiqi couldn't see the specific situation, but he saw that the lightning began to condense in the black clouds again, and he knew that the soul-departing scorpion should have passed the first level. After a few seconds, Kacha, Kacha, 2 lightning bolts fell at the same time. The lightning almost illuminated the entire center and inner area of the mountain range. The soul-departing scorpion once again bloomed purple light, but now the purple light was much dimmer than before. How could it resist 2 lightning bolts? Sure enough, under these 2 lightning bolts, the soul-departing scorpion's skin was immediately split open. In some places, its bones could even be seen. However, the fighting spirit in the soul-departing scorpion's eyes did not decrease at all, but continued to increase. The third heavenly thunder began to brew in the sky. This was the last heavenly thunder, and also the most terrifying heavenly thunder. It was unknown how many 6th-level demonic beasts had fallen under this last heavenly thunder. The lightning in the center of the black clouds became more dense, and countless lightning bolts merged together into a black lightning. Immediately, a huge black lightning bolt as thick as a tree fell from the sky. As soon as the black lightning appeared, it actually made Lung Shiqi's mind shake, and the soul-departing scorpion opened its mouth and spat out a gorgeous purple pattern monster core. That was the life source demon core of the soul-departing scorpion. The real name monster core formed a purple light shield above its head. Under the tyrannical black lightning, this light shield only lasted for a few breaths of time before it was broken. Fortunately, the protective shield of this life source monster core was not useless. In just a few short breaths of time, it had worn away half of the soul-leaving scorpion's lightning energy. Following that, the soul-departing scorpion no longer had any other means, and it had also reached the most critical moment. The remaining pitch-black lightning struck directly on the soul-departing scorpion's body, completely enveloping it in a black lightning prison, enduring endless torment. Under the lightning, the soul-departing scorpion could only struggle its body. However, the extent of its struggle became smaller and smaller, only revealing a badly mutilated body. When the last strand of black lightning was exhausted, the dark clouds in the sky suddenly dissipated into nothingness, as if they had never appeared. A rarely seen light appeared in the entire demonic miasma mountain range. The heavenly tribulation was over. However, did the soul-departing scorpion survive the heavenly tribulation? Lung Shiqi immediately opened his Byakugan. He found that the people from the Imperial Beast Camp and the Blood Beast sect were all rushing to the center of the mountain range. Leng Shiqi's eyes flashed with a trace of ruthlessness, and he also ran towards the center of the mountain range. Amongst all of them, there were two people who were the fastest, and both of them were flying through the air. One of them was a middle-aged man with white hair but a mustache. He was the elder Xie who had noticed Leng Shiqi's Byakugan. That was the great elder of the Blood Beast sect, a powerful spirit cultivator, who surpassed the four realms of heaven, Xie Pingyu. The other person was one of the three great beast kings of the Imperial Beast Camp, the thousand-legged beast king, Nan Minyun. The two of them directly turned into two streams of light, and arrived at the place where the soul-departing scorpion was undergoing its tribulation at a speed that was difficult for everyone to reach. When they saw that the soul-departing scorpion was only left with a pool of flesh and blood, they revealed a look of disappointment. Nan Minyun sighed slightly. Did it fail? What a pity. Fake mercy. I want the remains of the soul-departing scorpion. Xie Pingyu took a step forward and arrived in front of the soul-departing scorpion. Just as Xie Pingyu was about to collect its remains, a weak purple light suddenly bloomed. Immediately after, the purple light became more and more dense. In the blink of an eye, it formed a purple cocoon that wrapped around the soul-departing scorpion. Nan Minyun exclaimed, "It succeeded. Get lost." Nan Minyun formed a strange spirit seal with both hands, and immediately, a huge centipede shadow that was dozens of feet tall suddenly soared into the sky behind him. A terrifying surge of spiritual energy surged out. The centipede had tens of thousands of sharp claws, and each claw was condensed with a little bit of spirit light. In an instant, thousands of laser-like spirit energy shot out in all directions. Xie Pingyu growled and actually let out a demonic roar. A boundless blood river suddenly appeared around him. The blood river swept and flowed continuously, blocking most of the spirit light. And in the blood river, two huge arms stretched out from nowhere. The arms swung down and directly scattered the remaining spirit light. The soul-departing scorpion had successfully passed its tribulation, and was in the process of transforming. Now was the time for them to fight. The blood river flowed around Xie Pingyu, and in the blood river, there was a fierce giant beast. He coldly said, "Old man, the soul-departing scorpion hasn't transformed yet, and you're already attacking. Aren't you being too hasty?" The 1,000-feet centipede behind Nan Minyun stood upright. It opened its mouth and began to spit out clouds, causing the entire mountain range to be filled with immortal fog. Nan Minyun sneered, "Since the soul-departing scorpion has successfully passed its tribulation, it's only a matter of time before it transforms. At the very least, it will be treated as a guardian spirit beast in my Imperial Beast abode. It's better than being peeled open and studied by executioners like you." The two great sects had been enemies for many years. The reason for their hostility was that their cultivation philosophies were completely opposite. The two of them were at the top of their sections. They had been fighting each other for many years, so they naturally didn't have anything good to say. The two of them didn't even finish their words before they started fighting again. The battle between them could be said to be earth-shattering. The void twisted, and the entire mountain range shook. The mountain where the soul-departing scorpion was transcending its tribulation was razed to the ground. However, they were carefully controlling their power, and didn't hurt the purple cocoon at all. While they were fighting, the experts and disciples of the two great sects also rushed over. When they saw that Nan Minyun and Xie Pingyu had started fighting, they also started fighting one after another. They weren't worried that both sides would be injured, and that the soul-departing scorpion would escape. This was because both Nan Minyun and Xie Pingyu could easily suppress the newly transformed soul-departing scorpion. For a moment, the center of the demonic miasma mountain range was filled with countless terrifying spirit force fluctuations. However, they didn't notice that a figure was quietly approaching. Chapter 217. This person was, of course, Leng Shiqi. He saw the destructive battle between Nan Minyun and Xie Pingyu from afar, and his heart was filled with mixed feelings. He was certain that if he was even slightly touched by the aftermath of that battle, he would immediately be crushed into powder. He was fearful of that kind of power, but he also yearned for it. He hoped that one day, he would also have such power. However, the most important thing for him now was to take advantage of the chaos to obtain the treasure. Leng Shiqi took out the treasure-seeking compass. The purple light on the compass immediately formed an arrow and pointed in a certain direction. He looked in that direction and was so shocked that he almost bit his tongue. No matter how good Leng Shiqi's mentality was, he actually wanted to curse at this moment. He even wanted to smash the broken compass in his hand, because the treasure-seeking compass was pointing at the purple cocoon that the soul-departing scorpion had transformed into. It seems that the treasure-seeking compass has always been pointing at the soul-departing scorpion. The Blood Beast sect and the Imperial Beast camp, these two top sects, obviously covet the treasure. But how can I obtain the treasure from the experts of these two sects? This treasure-seeking compass is too deceitful. Leng Shiqi was really flustered and exasperated. He had been careful and vigilant these past few days. Now he even took the risk to enter the center of the mountain range. He was not here to snatch the treasure from the two sections. Sigh. After a while, Leng Shiqi faintly sighed. This time he admitted defeat. He wasted a few days for nothing. Just as he was about to return to the demon-suppressing town to think of a way, the purple cocoon suddenly changed. Suddenly, a crack appeared on the surface of the cocoon. Immediately after, ka. More and more cracks appeared. Even Nan Menyun and Xiepingyu stopped at this moment. Everyone's gaze fell on the purple cocoon. They knew that the soul-departing scorpion had successfully transformed. With a bang, the purple silkworm cocoon suddenly exploded, and a blurry figure appeared inside. However, the purple fragments that exploded did not scatter. Instead, they gathered around the figure and condensed into a gorgeous purple dress. At this moment, a beautiful woman appeared in front of everyone. Her figure was exquisite and her face was enchanting and charming. The purple dress added a bit of luxury to her. Especially her pair of purple eyes. They were even more breathtaking. This was a stunner that could make countless people fall head over heels for her and lose their souls. Some of the younger disciples only glanced at her once before their eyes went blank, completely unaware of it. She was a rank 7 shape-shifting greater demon, the soul-departing scorpion. Even the 1,000-legged beast king, Nan Menyun, was stunned. He said, "Soul-leaving scorpion, it's not easy for you to transform. Come back to the Imperial Beast House with me. This king will grant you the position of Sect Guardian Spirit Beast. Your position in the sect will be second only to the 3 Beast Kings." Xiepingyu looked at the soul-departing scorpion with a greedy expression. However, he wasn't greedy for the scorpion's appearance. Instead, he wanted to study what a great Yao looked like. He continued, "Don't listen to his nonsense. The Imperial Beast Abode is just using a formation to imprison you under the mountain gate forever. You have to guard the sect for generations to come. This is a fate worse than death. Now that you are a great demon, you should understand that it is as difficult as ascending to the heavens for the Demon Beast clan to advance further. If you join our Blood Beast sect, we can help you break through to the 8th step." The two of them didn't make a move immediately. They both wanted to obtain the soul-departing scorpion, but if they could persuade her, wouldn't it save them a lot of effort? The soul-departing scorpion's purple eyes turned slightly. Her red lips slightly opened. Nan Menyun and Xiepingyu thought that she was going to say something. Unexpectedly, the soul-departing scorpion suddenly let out a sharp and ear-piercing sound. That sound instantly enveloped the entire center of the mountain range. Everyone was stunned. The spirit transformation stage disciples of the 2 great sects swayed and fell to the ground. The spirit cultivators of the 4th realm of Heaven Realm were not having a good time either. They all covered their ears in pain, but it was useless. Leng Shiqi was the furthest away, but he was also affected by the screams. His mind was suddenly filled with turbulent waves, and he vaguely felt that his soul was about to be forcibly dragged out of his body. With a thought, Leng Shiqi used a pure spiritual force between his eyebrows to wrap around himself. Only then was he able to slightly block a portion of the sound waves. At the same time, a light green shadow floated out from the bodies of the fallen spirit transformation stage disciples. Those shadows quickly gathered and finally drilled into the mouth of the soul-departing scorpion. He exclaimed inwardly, "Is that the real soul?" The soul-departing scorpion really lives up to its reputation. Not only them, even Nan Mingyun and Xiepingyu were caught off guard and almost fell for it. Xiepingyu's face darkened as he shouted sternly, "You refuse a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. It's the same when this old man cripples you and drags you back." Nan Mingyun also said, "Stubborn." At this moment, the two experts reached out to grab the soul-departing scorpion at the same time. Xiepingyu waved his hand, and a boundless blood river appeared. For a moment, blood qi soared into the sky. A strange giant beast that was 200 feet tall walked out from the blood river. The four limbs of the giant beast were different, as if they were pieced together by different demonic beasts. There was also a pair of giant blood-colored wings on its back. Nan Mingyun tapped his foot lightly and leaped into the air, landing on the head of the 1,000-legged centipede. The man and beast were surrounded by clouds, but the dreamy clouds were filled with destructive killing intent. The soul-departing scorpion let out a soft burp. Then a purple light surrounded its body, and it turned into a ray of purple light that broke through the sky. Still want to escape? Just give up." Nan Mingyun and Xiepingyu tried to stop it, but who would have thought that the purple light would be so powerful? It tore through Xiepingyu and the blood river, breaking through Nan Mingyun's clouds. The two of them knew that the soul-departing scorpion was good at capturing souls, but they didn't expect it to be so fast after transforming. In a moment of carelessness, the soul-departing scorpion broke through their encirclement. The two of them immediately brought their spirit beasts and blood beasts to chase after it. If they really let the soul-departing scorpion escape today, their old faces would be completely lost. Once they left, the remaining spirit cultivators of the four realms of heaven and earth started to fight again. They were already mortal enemies, and they had lost their disciples of the spirit transformation realm just now, so their attacks were even more ruthless. When Leng Shiqi saw that they had left with the soul-departing scorpion, he relaxed. He was also prepared to leave, but when he looked down he couldn't help but be stunned. The direction pointed by the treasure-seeking plate in his hand still hadn't changed. That's not right, the soul-departing scorpion has already flown away, so the treasure-seeking plate is pointing at is not the soul-departing scorpion, but something else. Leng Shiqi activated his supercilious eyes and looked in the direction the treasure-seeking plate was pointing at. Chapter 218. Leng Shiqi used his Byakugan to immediately see that there was something below the soul-departing scorpion. Deep underground, there was a strange ball of spirit energy. In his Byakugan, spirit cultivators and demon beast spirit energy were all blue, but the ball of spirit energy underground was actually green. The strength of the green spirit energy was not weaker than Xiepingyu, and it was obvious that it was not a living thing. Leng Shiqi felt that it was strange. How could a non-living thing contain such terrifying spirit energy? Other than this thing, there was also an aura weaker than him. It seemed to be a rank 2 demon beast. That ball of green spirit energy should be the treasure that the treasure-seeking compass is referring to. Leng Shiqi quietly observed the battle between the two great sections. These people were all at the fourth realm of Sky Man, and the momentum of the battle was extremely huge, especially the few great experts at the Unity of Heaven Man realm. Their fight caused the center of the mountain to shake. Leng Shiqi sank deep into the ground, and then went around half a circle, bypassing the fighting spirit cultivators to explore the treasure. After a while, Leng Shiqi's feet suddenly became empty. He suddenly discovered that there was actually a dark cave hidden underground. As soon as he entered the cave, he immediately smelled a faint stench, but he did not care, because the treasure that the treasure-seeking compass pointed to was not far from him. Leng Shiqi turned 2 corners and came to a slightly more open area. Before he got close, he could see a green light flickering. He walked forward and saw a diamond-shaped green crystal that was half the height of a person floating in the air. The green light was emitted from this crystal. Leng Shiqi felt a familiar aura from this green crystal, and after the green light entered his body, it actually resonated with the beast origin battle marks on his body. It's definitely something good. And beside the crystal, there was a palm-sized scorpion. Leng Shiqi knew that this was the rank 2 demon beast. He opened his palm and condensed a large amount of cold qi to temporarily freeze the small scorpion, but he did not kill it yet. That was because his top priority was to get that crystal first. However, when he approached the green crystal, the crystal suddenly emitted a dazzling green light. This green light was so strong that it sent Leng Shiqi flying. Boom! Leng Shiqi slammed into the stone wall behind him. He wasn't hurt, but he knew that the green crystal wouldn't be easy to collect. If he wanted to collect the crystals, he could either store them in his mustard seed bag or store them in the system space. Leng Shiqi reckoned that this thing was not ordinary. His mustard seed bag might not be able to withstand it, and for safety reasons, it was best to directly store it in the system space. However, in order to store it in the system space, he had to touch the crystal with both hands. Immediately, Leng Shiqi gritted his teeth, and his bones cracked. His body grew several times larger in the blink of an eye, and at the same time, a set of reddish-brown armor appeared on his body. His body arched slightly, and then he shot out like an arrow leaving the bow. In the blink of an eye, he arrived in front of the green crystal. He reached out his hands to grab the crystal, but the crystal emitted a green light again. Strangely enough, the green light didn't send him flying this time. Instead, it wrapped him up gently like cotton. Leng Shiqi felt his whole body warm up, and the green light seeped into his body. Some of the green light merged into his flesh, and some of it went into his spiritual space. At this time, Leng Shiqi did not have time to carefully understand whether the green light was beneficial or harmful to him, because his hands had already touched the green crystal. Then, with a thought, the green crystal disappeared and was stored in the system space. Success. Phew. Leng Shiqi sighed softly. Although he did not know what this crystal was used for, he had finally obtained this treasure. He would have time to slowly study it in the future. Just as Leng Shiqi was about to kill the little scorpion next to him and leave, he suddenly felt a chill on his back, and he secretly shivered. At this moment, an enchanting and charming woman appeared behind him. That woman's pair of emotionless purple eyes stared at Leng Shiqi. She was the soul-leaving scorpion. However, at this time, the soul-leaving scorpion's body was clearly injured, and there was a trace of blood at the corner of her mouth. Leng Shiqi's body stiffened. He turned his head around with difficulty. When he saw this woman, his mind exploded with a buzzing sound, causing his mind to go blank and his soul to leave his body. The soul-leaving scorpion's eyes moved, and a brilliant purple light bloomed. Leng Shiqi only felt his vision blur, and then he found that he could not move his body. Then a seductive voice sounded in his ears. Human boy has demon blood in his body. It seems that he has also cultivated a technique to devour demon beasts. This was the first time Leng Shiqi hated the demon beast essence technique so much. He wanted to struggle before death, but now he did not even have the ability to open his mouth. The soul-leaving scorpion walked in front of Leng Shiqi's face, and stretched out a finger to poke his face, with a look of interest in her eyes. That beautiful face was in front of Leng Shiqi, but he only felt fear in his heart. However, he did not give up and quickly looked for a way to escape. At this time, the soul-leaving scorpion did not kill him, which meant that he still had some value. You can actually collect the Heaven Demon Soul Crystal. That's strange, but it's good. Leng Shiqi did not know what she meant by it's good, but he knew that the soul-leaving scorpion was probably going to attack him. The soul-leaving scorpion forced a drop of blood from her fingertip, and then she used the blood to draw a complicated and strange pattern in the air. The soul-leaving scorpion murmured, "It's your good fortune to be implanted with a demon slave blood contract, and become my slave." Leng Shiqi was shocked when he heard this. If he was really implanted with this demon slave blood contract, he was afraid that he would be enslaved by the soul-leaving scorpion for the rest of his life. However, he did not have any way to stop it. In the end, he was still too weak. The soul-leaving scorpion's jade finger gently pointed, and the blood contract was imprinted on Leng Shiqi's body. Then he felt a strange energy pour into his countless blood, and even a trace of it entered his spiritual space. Leng Shiqi was like a fish on the chopping board, at the mercy of the soul-leaving scorpion. However, to the surprise of Leng Shiqi and the soul-leaving scorpion, after a while, nothing strange happened to Leng Shiqi. That power was like a clay ox entering the sea. disappearing without a trace. Even the soul-leaving scorpion, a great demon beast, was stunned. Failed. How is that possible? The soul-leaving scorpion directly grabbed Leng Shiqi, and the purple light in her eyes seemed to see through him. You, who are you? Chapter 219. The soul-departing scorpion grabbed Leng Shiqi's neck and asked coldly, "Only those whose bloodline is not below mine can't plant a demon slave blood contract. Who are you?" Leng Shiqi was also confused, but he knew that this was a good thing. After all, he had escaped a disaster. At this moment, he suddenly remembered that the system information had always shown that he had a bloodline, but the bloodline showed a question mark. Leng Shiqi had guessed before that his bloodline might be beyond the scope of the system's knowledge. Connecting it to what the soul-departing scorpion said, he was even more convinced that his body must have a bloodline no weaker than the soul-departing scorpion. The soul-departing scorpion was an extremely rare and noble bloodline among monsters. It was born as a rank 2 monster, equivalent to a spirit cultivator at the spirit transformation realm. After it grew to maturity, it would naturally become a rank 6 monster. It could be said that any adult soul-departing scorpion had strength comparable to the unity of heaven and man realm. That was why the people of the Imperial Beast House and the Blood Beast sect valued the soul-departing scorpion so much. When they learned that there was a soul-departing scorpion in the depths of the demon miasma mountain range that was about to undergo tribulation, they rushed over. Now Leng Shiqi was sincerely grateful to the original owner of this body. If not for this, he would have already become a slave of the soul-departing scorpion. His life and death were in the hands of others at all times. It was really worse than death. "Human, if you don't want to die, listen to me," the soul-departing scorpion said again. Leng Shiqi couldn't move at all. He could only barely move his eyelids. "Since you can hide from everyone and come here, you must have a way to leave quietly, right?" Leng Shiqi felt that his head had some feeling, but he couldn't speak, so he could only nod. "Very good." After the soul-departing scorpion finished speaking, another drop of blood appeared on its fingertip. It began to draw the blood pattern again, but this time the pattern was completely different from the last time. "This is an equal blood contract. Although your strength is low, your bloodline is very noble. It is not a disgrace to me." The pattern split into 2 in midair, and entered the bodies of the Leng Shiqi and the soul-leaving scorpion respectively. Immediately, Leng Shiqi felt a tearing pain in his head. It was as if his soul was being torn in half. At the same time, the soul-leaving scorpion's face also showed a painful expression. Then 2 finger-thick green light beams flew out from between their eyebrows and flew into each other's eyebrows. The soul-departing scorpion said, "Now that you and I have formed a blood contract, we each control a part of the other's soul. We cannot harm each other, or we will lose this part of our soul forever. If you lose a part of your soul, not only will it be difficult to improve your cultivation, you won't even have the qualifications to enter the cycle of reincarnation." At this moment, Leng Shiqi finally regained his senses. When he heard these words, he finally heaved a sigh of relief. Not to mention other things, at least he survived and did not need to be controlled by others. But he was still slightly unable to wrap his head around it. Logically speaking, with his measly cultivation, he utterly didn't have the slightest room to resist before the soul-leaving scorpion. Judging from her previous question, she seemed to want to use Leng Shiqi to help her escape from here. The soul-leaving scorpion could use countless methods to force him to do this. Why beat around the bush? Besides, Leng Shiqi didn't think he had the ability to hide from Nan Minyun and Xie Pingyu to save the soul-leaving scorpion. Then, without seeing the soul-leaving scorpion make any movements, Leng Shiqi felt that his body could move again. He immediately deactivated the Beast Yuan battle pattern and returned to his original appearance. The Beast Yuan battle pattern of the rank 3 Red Crag Beast was still too taxing on him. And even if he activated the Beast Yuan battle pattern, it would have no effect in front of the soul-leaving scorpion, so he simply deactivated it. The soul-leaving scorpion ignored him. Instead, countless sharp purple lights bloomed from her palm and entered her body. She stretched out her hand again, and the little scorpion that was originally frozen by Leng Shiqi instantly melted the ice layer, and flew in front of the soul-leaving scorpion, facing her. Leng Shiqi didn't know what the soul-leaving scorpion was going to do. He only knew that he would be fine as long as he stayed put. Then the soul-leaving scorpion opened her red lips and spat out a purple pattern monster core. That was her life source monster core. It was now a rank 7 monster core. The life source monster core immediately cast a faint light curtain that enveloped her and the little scorpion. Then the little scorpion also spat out a small monster core, but this monster core was indeed very dim. In Leng Shiqi's eyes, he clearly saw a green shadow emerge from the soul-leaving scorpion and the little scorpion. The shadow of the soul-leaving scorpion was very similar to her original body, while the little scorpion was just a small green ball of light. Then something that surprised Leng Shiqi happened. The shadow of the soul-leaving scorpion actually drilled into the little scorpion's body, and the small green ball of light sank into the transformed body of the soul-leaving scorpion. Then the little scorpion opened its mouth and swallowed the gorgeous purple pattern monster core, and the remaining dim little monster core was sent into the mouth of the soul-leaving scorpion. Leng Shiqi's eyes flashed a few rays of light. He was secretly shocked. She is taking over the little scorpion? No, this is a soul exchange. I understand. She wants me to escape with the little scorpion, and her original body directly gave up. Perhaps she knows that the aura of her original body can't be concealed. Even if she escapes, she will be caught by the people of the 2 major sects, so she used this method of escaping. She has given up on her human form and cultivation base of a great demon beast that she had painstakingly obtained. Now she is only a 2nd-rank demon beast, so she needs someone to help her. This is also the reason why she wants to sign a blood contract with me. At this moment, Leng Shiqi suddenly figured out the purpose of the soul-leaving scorpion, and also dispelled the previous doubts. After all this was done, the eyes of the human body of the soul-leaving scorpion were dull, and suddenly sat on the ground. However, the little scorpion spoke in human language. Take me away before they find this place. Leng Shiqi secretly thought that it was as expected. When he thought that he might have to stay with this soul-leaving scorpion for a long time in the future, his heart chilled. No one dared to stay with a rank 7 great monster. It was simply like feeding a tiger. Moreover, he himself had countless secrets. Having a 7th-rank great demon by his side would be a hindrance to him. But now he had no other choice. If he didn't bring the soul-leaving scorpion away, then he could forget about keeping that part of his soul. Immediately, Leng Shiqi could only bring the soul-leaving scorpion into the mountain wall, and used all of his spirit energy to leave the center of the mountain range at full speed. Just after they left for half an incense's time, the cave suddenly collapsed. For extremely terrifying auras descended. It was Southern Cloud Gate, Xiepingyu, and their spirit beasts and blood beasts. They all saw the soul-leaving scorpion, lying in the ruins, heavily injured. Xiepingyu sneered. Your illusion technique is quite exquisite, but unfortunately you met this old man. You can't hide your demonic aura for long. Nan Menyan also said. If you had followed this king back to the sect from the beginning, you wouldn't have had to suffer this physical pain. Old man, you're showing tenderness towards the fairer sex. Don't tell me you've taken a fancy to this witch. Xiepingyu mocked. Nan Menyan didn't get angry, he lightly said. Since this monster is already heavily injured, then you and I should decide a victor. Xiepingyu was about to say something, but suddenly, the body of the soul-leaving scorpion changed back to its original scorpion form, and its body rapidly expanded. Chapter 220. Deep underground in the center of the mountain range, Leng Shiqi continued to drill forward, but he was still dissatisfied. The soul-departing scorpion said, Can't you go faster? Leng Shiqi opened his mouth. He didn't know what to call the soul-departing scorpion, so he could only say, Senior, this is already Junior's fastest speed. Once we avoid the spirit cultivators above and return to the ground, it will be faster. Forget it, since you and I have signed an equal blood contract, I will lend you some strength. As the soul-departing scorpion spoke, it spat out a purple mist from its mouth. Leng Shiqi inadvertently sucked it in, and his body was surrounded by waves of purple light, and his aura continued to soar. Under this, His speed was more than 3 times faster. Leng Shiqi was familiar with this feeling. After all, when he was possessed by the demon spirit, he had borrowed the power of the demon spirit. However, he was still a little worried and asked, "Senior, will this attract the attention of those two?" The soul-departing scorpion climbed onto Leng Shiqi's shoulder and said, "You are quite cautious. Don't worry, they won't have time soon." Leng Shiqi was a little confused, but he didn't dare to ask more. At this moment, he suddenly felt a monstrous wave of spirit energy coming from behind him. He was clearly deep underground, but he could clearly feel the earth trembling, and there was a heaven-shaking sound in his ears. If he was on the ground, he would be able to see a purple mushroom cloud rising from the center of the mountain range. With the soul-departing scorpion's body as the center, the raging purple cloud spread out. Everywhere it passed, everything was razed to the ground. The mountain peaks collapsed, the earth dragons turned over, and the explosion was like a heavenly punishment that almost overturned the entire center of the mountain range. Leng Shiqi activated his supercilious eyes, and only then did he realize that there were not many of the 4 realms of heaven and man experts left. Fortunately, his speed had increased explosively earlier, allowing him to run to the periphery of the central region. Since he was deep underground, he had not been affected by the shockwaves. What is that?" The soul-departing scorpion said viciously, "That is my original body's self-destruction." Leng Shiqi didn't know what to say anymore. There was only shock in his heart. The self-destruction of a rank 7 great demon. No wonder there was such a terrifying destructive power. Humph, Nan Menyun of the Imperial Beast Abode, and Xiepingyu of the Blood Beast sect. You've ruined my hundreds of years of cultivation. Sooner or later, I'll make you pay back 100-fold. This is just a small gift. Leng Shiqi could clearly feel the soul-departing scorpion's soaring hatred, even calling out the word "old mother." However, he was also a little impressed by the soul-departing scorpion's courage. To be able to decisively self-destruct his own great demon body, this kind of courage was really something that ordinary people did not have. Although he was shocked and impressed, his speed did not decrease in the slightest. Now those experts of the 4 realms of heaven and earth had suffered heavy casualties from the self-detonation of the soul-departing scorpion. Even Nan Menyun and Xiepingyu were probably not having a good time. They couldn't even take care of themselves right now, much less carefully investigate the aura. Leng Shiqi tried his best to drill into the inner area. When he completely reached the inner area, Leng Shiqi directly returned to the ground. He stepped on a faint purple cloud, his body like cotton floating in the wind. It looked like he was floating slowly, but every time he moved, he would move dozens of feet away. Leng Shiqi did not care about the changes behind him. He sped forward silently. When the purple cloud in his body was exhausted, he had already run to the border between the inner area and the outer area. At this time, his speed suddenly slowed down. The soul-departing scorpion said, "We finally got rid of those 2 old ghosts for the time being. However, your body more or less has a trace of my aura. Just in case, it's better to run as far as possible." Leng Shiqi's footsteps still did not stop. However, without the support of the soul-departing scorpion's power, his speed was clearly not as fast as before. After all, his spirit steps was a movement-type spirit technique that was more useful in battle, and not a light body-type spirit technique that focused on speed. After running like this for about an hour, they finally reached the outer area of the demonic Miasma mountain range. Leng Shiqi panted and stopped using Ghost Walk and Spirit Steps because he only had less than 20% of his spirit power left. He hurriedly swallowed 2 spirit chi recovery pills and panted, "Senior, it's far enough." The soul-departing scorpion said, "Yes, rest for a while. They came here to capture me." The self-destruction of my physical body in front of them completely cut off their thoughts. Next, they might directly return to the sect. Leng Shiqi heard this and sank into the ground to recover his spirit power. The soul-departing scorpion said, "Human, what is your name?" "Junior is Leng Shiqi." "Leng Shiqi, I don't know how you found the Heaven Fiend Soul Crystal, nor do I know how you collected it. But I have to admit, if it wasn't for you, even if my soul switched bodies, I wouldn't have been able to escape. But if you didn't meet me, you would also have died under my self-destruction." You and I both saved each other's lives, so we don't owe each other anything. Now that you and I have signed an equal blood contract, I will tell you the truth. In the future, I need you to help me recover my strength. If you have any conditions, just say it. Junior doesn't dare. It is Junior's honor to serve Senior. You humans have always been so hypocritical, unlike us fiends. If you help me, I will naturally help you. Of course, if you don't say it, then forget it. Leng Shiqi could only awkwardly say, Senior, Junior does have a headache right now and wants to ask Senior for advice. What he wanted the most now was to break through to the spirit pulse realm as soon as possible. With the soul-departing scorpion that had lived for hundreds of years, there should be a way. The soul-departing scorpion said, Don't call me Senior or Junior, it makes me confused. My name is Nine Leave. Right now, I am only a rank 2 fiend. You and I can be equals. Before Nine Leave, is there a way for me to break through to the spirit pulse realm in a short time? Nine Leave's bean-sized eyes stared at Leng Shiqi carefully. She continued, The biggest problem with your cultivation is that it is not pure enough. If you slowly polish it, you won't be able to break through in a few years, let alone a short time. Although Leng Shiqi already knew this, he couldn't help but feel a little disappointed. Nine Leaves' tone changed again. But it's not that there is no way. I remember that there is an old ferret with a spirit spring. He has been tinkering with the spirit spring all these years. If you can refine spirit power in that spirit spring, you will only need a few days to sublimate your sea of qi into a spirit sea. Spirit spring. Leng Shiqi once read in a book that when the spirit qi of heaven and earth was condensed to the extreme, it would become a drop of spirit liquid. Countless drops of spirit liquid gathered together to form a spirit spring. But according to what he knew, there were only a few spirit springs in the Thunderblaze dynasty. He didn't expect there to be one in the demonic Miasma mountain range. Nine Leaf said, If you want to cultivate in that spirit spring, it will be a little troublesome. I can help you think of a way, but I also need a large amount of beast cores to recover my cultivation. You have to get them for me after this. Leng Shiqi nodded deeply. Deal. Chapter 221. Nine Leaf said, That old sable's lair is also in the center of the mountain range. Let's hide in the periphery for 2 days and wait for the Imperial Beast Camp and Blood Beast Sect people to leave. Leng Shiqi hesitated. Will that old sable be back in 2 days? That old sable is very sly. If I was still a rank 6 monster, I might borrow his spirit spring for a few days, and he might give me face. If I was a rank 7 monster, I would just snatch it. Unfortunately, I'm only a rank 2 monster. But with my understanding of him, he will definitely wait for everything to settle before returning. However, he might catch some rank 3 monsters to help him guard the spirit spring. That's troublesome. Rank 3 monsters. Leng Shiqi's heart sank. Nine Leaf said, Don't worry, I will help you control those rank 3 monsters, but it won't be for long. How much spirit energy you can absorb will depend on your own ability. Leng Shiqi nodded to indicate that he understood. At this moment, he thought of another question. Senior, what is that Heaven Fei Soul Crystal? Heaven Fei Soul Crystal is a cultivation treasure for the monster race, especially for me. As long as you get close to the crystal, you can absorb a large amount of monster chi and a portion of soul power. I just didn't expect a human like you to have monster blood. Since you can collect the Heaven Fei Soul Crystal, you must have an extraordinary spatial spirit tool on you. Leng Shiqi didn't expect the question to come back to him. He didn't know how to explain. Nine Leaf said, You're not worried that I will covet your things, are you? Junior doesn't dare. Leng Shiqi naturally didn't dare to admit it. I'm not interested in your secrets. I can share the Heaven Fei Soul Crystal with you. In the future, as long as you help me recover my cultivation, the benefits will be beyond your imagination. Junior understands. Leng Shiqi said, but he still felt that the soul-departing scorpion seemed to have other intentions. This was clearly a bomb that would explode at any time, but he had no way to deal with it. It was already good that he was still alive. 3 days later, Leng Shiqi and Nine Leaf quietly returned to the center of the mountain range. No one would have thought that they would dare to come back after escaping not long ago. Fortunately, there were no signs of life in the center of the mountain range. They smoothly arrived at a dark nest. This was the lair of the rank 6 demonic beast, Mixed Devil Black Marten. Lung Shiqi had never thought that he would walk into the lair of a rank 6 monster so openly. The inside of the lair wasn't very big, and after walking for a short while, he could faintly feel waves of rich spirit chi. He continued to advance for a period of time, and in his eyes he saw a ball of extremely condensed spirit chi that was like the bright moon. That was the spirit spring that Nine Leaves spoke of. And in the surroundings of the spirit spring, there was indeed the aura of more than a dozen third-rank demonic beasts. There was also an earthbound rat that the Lung Shiqi had encountered before. Nine Leaf jumped out of Lung Shiqi's shoulder, and directly jumped into the middle of the third-rank demonic beasts. The third-rank demonic beasts immediately discovered her, but Nine Leaf's movements were even faster. A purple spirit light shot out of her eyes, and then a dozen purple threads shot out of the spirit light and instantly entangled the third-rank demonic beasts. The eyes of the demonic beasts that were entangled by the purple threads became blurry, and then they lay down groggily and stopped moving. Nine Leaf hurriedly said, "My cultivation has been greatly damaged, and I don't know how long I can control them. Quickly enter the spirit spring to cultivate." Lung Shiqi used spirit steps and arrived at the spirit spring in a few steps. But when he saw the spirit spring, he was slightly taken aback. In his imagination, the spirit spring should be extremely pure spring water. But what appeared in front of him was a small pool of light green water emitting black gas. It didn't look like a good thing. Is this really the spirit spring? Lung Shiqi couldn't help but feel a bit suspicious. At this moment, Nine Leaves' displeased voice echoed, "What are you in a daze for?" Lung Shiqi no longer hesitated and directly jumped into the spirit spring. After he entered the spirit spring, he instantly felt countless pure spirit force enter his body from every pore. However, Lung Shiqi's cultivation was already at the peak of the 9th level of the spirit transformation realm, and his spirit techniques were almost complete. What he needed to do now was to use this spirit force to refine and replace the original spirit force in his body. At first, the process was very smooth. The spirit force in his body became more and more pure. He felt very comfortable soaking in the spirit spring, and gradually forgot about time. After an unknown amount of time, Lung Shiqi began to feel that something was wrong. He looked inside himself and found that his spirit force had turned into 3 colors. They were white, black, and green. These 3 types of spirit force were clearly separated, but as time passed, the green spirit force began to grow. At this time, Lung Shiqi's spirit force would not grow. The green spirit force growing larger meant that the other 2 types of spirit force were decreasing. Although Lung Shiqi didn't know what was going on, he felt that this was not a good thing. The spirit force in his body was already very pure, so he planned to try to sublimate his spirit C. As long as he had a spirit C, he would be one step into the spirit pulse realm. He could slowly open up his spirit pulse in the future. However, at this moment, he discovered something even stranger. That was, whether it was the 7 Fiend Art or the 9 Nether Magic Pattern, they could not fully mobilize the spirit force in his body. The 7 Fiend Art could only mobilize the white spirit force, while the 9 Nether Magic Pattern could only mobilize the black spirit force, which was the demonic spirit force. Lung Shiqi felt something and hurriedly used the demonic beast technique to control the green spirit force. The green spirit force was the demonic spirit force. Lung Shiqi had a headache. He didn't know why this was happening in his body, but now it seemed that he had to mobilize 3 types of spirit force at the same time to sublimate his Dantian into a spirit C. What was worse was that Nine Leaves' voice also sounded, "Hurry up, I can't hold on any longer." With internal and external troubles, Lung Shiqi suddenly had a crazy idea in his mind. In that case, wouldn't it be fine if he used 3 cultivation methods at the same time? One had to say that this idea was extremely bold. Ordinary people would generally only practice one kind of cultivation method. Even if they obtained a higher level cultivation method, they would still replace the previous cultivation method. This was because there were many conflicts between different cultivation methods. Lung Shiqi had the system, so he could have several cultivation methods at the same time. But he had never thought of using several cultivation methods at the same time. For example, the 7 Fiend Art and the 9 Nether Magic pattern both use the same meridians. If he used 2 cultivation methods at the same time, those meridians would be squeezed by 2 different forces. There was no need to even mention the 3 cultivation techniques. However, Leng Shiqi had only one way now, so he had to try it. Chapter 222. Now Leng Shiqi had no other choice, and time did not allow him to hesitate. He could use the power of the Spirit Spring to operate his cultivation method without any scruples. If he missed this opportunity, where would he find Spirit Spring for him in the future? Since he had decided to do it, Leng Shiqi immediately operated the 7 Fiends Art, 9 Nether Devil pattern, and Beast Essence Devil technique at the same time. As a result, he was able to mobilize all the spiritual power in his body. However, there was a problem. There were many conflicts between the meridians of these 3 cultivation methods. Some meridians needed to circulate the spiritual power of 2 cultivation methods at the same time, and some even needed to circulate the spiritual power of 3 cultivation methods at the same time. Leng Shiqi's meridians were suddenly filled with pain, and the most serious ones had already broken. However, Leng Shiqi did not have the slightest intention of stopping. Instead, he operated the cultivation method even faster. Gradually, the damage to his meridians became more and more serious. At this moment, a light illuminated Leng Shiqi's mind. Since spiritual techniques can be fused, why can't cultivation methods? Leng Shiqi grasped this flash of light, and then he used his experience of fusing spiritual techniques to find the commonalities of these 3 cultivation methods. He wanted to use these commonalities as a point of convergence to fuse the 3 cultivation methods. The 7 Fiends Art cultivated Blood Qi and Fiendish Qi, the 9 Nether Devil pattern cultivated Demonic Qi, and the Beast Essence Devil technique cultivated Demonic Qi. What were the commonalities of these 3 cultivation methods? Fiendish Qi, Demonic Qi, Demonic Qi. Leng Shiqi felt as if he had grasped something. His mind turned rapidly, and gradually his mind became clearer and clearer. Finally, as if the clouds parted to reveal the sun, Leng Shiqi finally found the point. That was Yin. Whether it was Blood Qi, Demonic Qi, or Demonic Qi, they were all the extreme Yin forces of this world. Suddenly, Leng Shiqi entered an incomparably wonderful state. If one looked carefully at his eyes, they would discover that he was in a strange state. One of his eyes was as clear as a mirror, while the other was chaotic. In this state, the 3 cultivation methods in Leng Shiqi's body no longer conflicted with each other, and they began to avoid each other. After a period of time, the 3 forces began to merge together in a bizarre manner. The 3 colors of spiritual power in Leng Shiqi's body began to become no longer distinct, but mixed together and turned into a gray spiritual power. At this moment, the gray spiritual power began to slowly rotate, and the rotation speed became faster and faster, forming a vortex. The spirit qi whirlpool was still shrinking. Every time it shrank, the spirit qi would become more viscous and pure. When the vortex shrank to the extreme, there was a change. All the spirit qi in Leng Shiqi's body disappeared, and turned into a drop of gray spirit qi. However, this tiny drop was even purer and more majestic than the huge ball of spiritual energy he originally had. At this moment, he finally condensed his spiritual power into spirit liquid, and successfully opened his spirit sea. Of course, Leng Shiqi's drop of spirit liquid was still far from the spirit sea, but he was one step into the spirit pulse realm. It was also because he had condensed his spiritual sea that the original 3 cultivation techniques had completely fused together at this moment. Boom! Leng Shiqi's aura suddenly increased by a few times, and his chest and back glowed with a strange light. First, it was the beast essence battle pattern of the spiritual ruin beast king behind him. The battle pattern was white with a bit of gold, but now it turned gray. Then Leng Shiqi's body began to grow, and he was a head taller. However, what was even more strange was that the beast essence battle pattern of the spiritual ruin beast king behind him slowly faded, and finally disappeared. At the same time, the beast essence battle pattern of the red crag beast on his chest lit up, and then a beast armor appeared on his body. However, this beast armor was completely different from before. The original reddish-brown armor had turned pitch black. Furthermore, there was a sinister and terrifying spike growing out of every joint. There were even blood-colored patterns on the armor that flickered as if they were breathing. Now Leng Shiqi looked like a demon that crawled out of the netherworld. He looked down at the changes in his body. He did not expect such a magical change after the cultivation methods were fused. Nineleaf naturally also noticed the change in Leng Shiqi. She gave a soft cry of surprise and said, "You really do have some skills. I can at most last for the time it takes for an incense stick to burn. You can try to open the spirit vein and see. If it doesn't work, we will have to leave." Leng Shiqi did not speak. He closed his eyes and felt the explosive power in his body, while continuing to consider which spirit vein to open first. The Bloody Slaughter 7 Fiend art and the 9 Nether Devil pattern were different from the first spirit vein. Now that they had fused together, he naturally had a choice. Soon, Leng Shiqi decided to open the spirit vein of the Bloody Slaughter 7 Fiend art first. After all, he was a disciple of the Bloodrobe Pavilion. If he opened other spirit veins first, wouldn't he be guilty of stealing? Many spirit cultivators who had just entered the spirit vein realm would choose to open the spirit vein on their right arm first, because this was one of the spirit veins that could directly improve their combat strength. However, the Bloody Slaughter 7 Fiend art opened the spirit vein near the heart vein first. The Bloody Slaughter 7 Fiend art was best at controlling the power of blood, so this choice was understandable. Then Leng Shiqi began to try to open the spirit vein. Logically speaking, the difficulty of opening the spirit vein was actually above the spirit sea, and there was a certain amount of danger. For example, a spirit cultivator who had cultivated for decades could also sublimate the spirit sea, which was a process of accumulation. However, opening the spirit vein was not so simple. One must carefully control the spirit power at all times. If the spirit power was too weak, it would not be enough to open it. If the spirit power was too strong, it could destroy the spirit vein and cause it to fail. At first, Leng Shiqi was also a little worried, but he didn't expect that it would be so easy for him to do it. In less than half an incense stick's time, he successfully opened the first spirit vein, and finally broke through to the spirit vein realm of the 4 realms of heaven. He thought about it for a moment. He had once drawn a special spiritual skill called Chakra Walk. He rarely used this spiritual skill, but it gave Leng Shiqi a very strong control over his Reiki. In addition, he had borrowed the power of Mo Ling and Nineleaf. He had personally experienced the power of a spirit vein realm master. Coupled with the fact that he was now in the spirit spring and had an incomparably huge power backing him, he could easily open the spirit vein. At this moment, there seemed to be an invisible force between heaven and earth that suddenly poured into his body. Chapter 223. Leng Shiqi had just broken through to the spirit pulse realm when an invisible force drilled into his body. That power flowed through his limbs, bones, and internal organs, causing his entire body to feel a numbing sensation. Then the beast essence battle runes on his body suddenly disappeared, and the scars on his body rapidly faded. Some small wounds were even directly erased, and even his skin seemed to be a little fairer. And his mystical strength had skyrocketed to the level of the late stage of the pure spirit realm. At the same time, his spiritual space suddenly shook, and the size of the space suddenly expanded by a full quarter. Stepping into the 4 realms of heaven and man meant that he had an innate body, and was reborn to prolong his life. He was no longer a person of the same world as ordinary mortals and spirit cultivators. Pooh! Leng Shiqi jumped out of the spirit spring and landed on the ground. His body emitted a series of caw-caw sounds. He clenched his fist and a wave of spirit energy surged out. He felt the endless power in his body, and suddenly wanted to shout a few times. He had finally broken through to the spirit pulse realm. A 14-year-old spirit pulse realm. Tang Heyu of the Tang family had stepped into the spirit pulse realm at the age of 24, shocking the entire Donglin County. However, Leng Shiqi had passed away a full 10 years earlier than him. If this matter were to spread, It would definitely alarm the entire Thunderfire dynasty, and even the entire Falling Star continent. However, at this time Nine-Leaf shouted, "Not good. I feel the aura of that old sable, it's coming back." Nine-Leaf's words were like a basin of cold water poured on Lung Shiqi's head, extinguishing his lofty aspirations of breaking through to the Spirit Pulse realm. What was worse was that Nine-Leaf could no longer control those rank 3 monsters. Lung Shiqi's mind moved, and a demonic light flashed on his body, and the pitch-black armor appeared again. He pulled Nine-Leaf, and turned into a black phantom as he rushed out of the nest. Unfortunately, as soon as he arrived at the entrance of the lair, he bumped into a wave of monstrous demonic chi. Vaguely, there was a demonic beast within the monstrous demonic chi. Its body was shrouded in black chi, and its eyes were glowing green. That was the rank 6 demonic beast, the demon Black Martin. Lung Shiqi couldn't help but stop. Right now there was a rank 6 monster beast in front of him, and there were more than a dozen rank 3 monster beasts chasing after him. He was surrounded by enemies from both sides, and no matter if it was in front or behind, they could easily tear him apart. In that case, Lung Shiqi could only find another way to survive. However, he couldn't escape into the ground. Among those rank 3 demonic beasts, there was the earthbound rat. His burrowing speed was far inferior to the earthbound rat. Moreover, such a small trick like burrowing might not work in front of the Chaos Devil Black Martin. Since he couldn't walk in front or behind, and he couldn't burrow into the ground either, there was only one path left. That is the sky. The Chaos Devil Black Martin was enveloped in a boundless demonic aura as it rapidly approached. The rank 3 demonic beasts behind it also pounced over. In this perilous situation, Lung Shiqi bent his knees slightly, and then suddenly jumped up. He gathered his spirit energy, and leaped over 100 feet into the air. However, his body didn't fall down. Instead, with a swoosh sound, a pair of pure white wings more than 10 feet long suddenly spread out from Lung Shiqi's back. He was wearing a demon-like armor, but a pair of holy wings spread out behind him, as if a demon god had descended to the world. That was the mid-level prize he had drawn not long ago, wings soaring sky. Lung Shiqi flapped his wings and his body quickly rose up. A few pure white feathers slowly fell, and his body was already several dozen feet above the ground. The Chaos Devil Black Martin cared about its precious spirit spring the most. Back then, in order to avoid the experts of the 2 sects and the heavenly tribulation, it had no choice but to leave its nest. However, it was always worried, so it caught some rank 3 demonic beasts to guard the spirit spring for it. As for the rank 4 and rank 5 demonic beasts, it also wanted to catch them, but those demonic beasts also had intelligence and had long run away. After the heavenly tribulation, the Chaos Devil Black Martin originally planned to hide for a while before returning. However, 2 days ago, it suddenly sensed that the spirit spring had been touched by someone. At first, it thought that the experts of the Imperial Beast Abode and the Blood Beast sect had discovered the spirit spring, so it still didn't dare to return. However, later on, it tentatively returned to the center of the mountain range, and found that the people from the 2 sects had long left. This time, the Chaos Devil Black Martin was enraged and immediately rushed back, just in time to see the scene of Lung Shiqi escaping from the nest. The Chaos Devil Black Martin clearly felt the presence of the spirit spring on Lung Shiqi's body, and its heart was filled with violent anger and surging killing intent. Just as it was about to cut Lung Shiqi into pieces, the Lung Shiqi suddenly flew into the sky. A spiritual pulse realm cultivator could also fly? This scene broke the Chaos Devil Black Martin's understanding, but it couldn't dispel its anger and hatred. The Chaos Devil Black Martin let out a strange scream, and then a black and green liquid as thick as a bucket shot directly towards the Lung Shiqi in the air like an arrow. Lung Shiqi saw the black and green arrow from afar, and felt a chill down his spine. He knew that if he was hit by this arrow, even if he had 2 lives, it wouldn't be enough. At this time, Nine-Leaf said, "This is the Chaos Devil Black Martin's unique Chaos Devil Chi. Not only does it disrupt the flow of spiritual power, it also has a strong corrosive effect. It recognizes my presence, so I can't help you. You can only rely on yourself." Hearing this, Lung Shiqi's face darkened. He flapped his wings and flew higher and higher. Unfortunately, This was the first time he used his wings, and he didn't have any experience, so his flying speed was still a bit slow. The most important thing was that his speed was even slower than the Chaos Devil Chi. As Leng Shiqi flew high, his hands moved, and waves of demonic chi surged out. The demonic chi instantly condensed into 2 demonic spears. He moved his arms, and the 2 demonic spears drew 2 demonic crosses in the air and fell straight down. The 2 demonic spears met the Chaos Devil Chi, and there were 2 loud bangs in the air. The 2 demonic spears were as fragile as paper, and were shattered by the Chaos Devil Chi in the blink of an eye. So strong. Leng Shiqi was secretly shocked. Although he was shocked, his hands didn't slow down. He clenched his fists and smashed them down. In an instant, a tiger's roar resounded through the sky, and a gray tiger phantom jumped out of his fists and charged towards the Chaos Devil Chi. Leng Shiqi then slapped out 6 times, and 6 fiery palm shadows appeared one after another. With a thought, the 6 fiery palm shadows suddenly merged into one, and condensed into a huge palm shadow that was 10 feet tall. There was a layer of faint green light on the flames of the palm shadow. He held the 6 young poisonous fire palm and slammed it down. At this time, Leng Shiqi was nearly 100 feet in the air, and the Chaos Devil Chi gradually weakened. It hit the tiger phantom first, and in a breath's time, it tore the tiger apart. Then, the Chaos Devil Chi met the huge fiery palm shadow, and the 2 exploded into brilliant sparks in the sky. After a few breaths, the huge fiery palm shadow completely scattered like fireworks. However, the Chaos Devil Chi was obviously weakened, and now there was only a small half left. Leng Shiqi held 2 strange purple scimitars in his hands. He poured all of his spiritual power into the scimitars, and the purple light on the blades was very dazzling. When the Chaos Devil Chi approached, Leng Shiqi slashed out 2 crescent-shaped purple sword lights, and each sword light was 10 feet long. The strange thing was that the 2 saber lights were not directly slashed out by Leng Shiqi. Instead, they moved closer to each other and formed a round purple moon. In the bright sun, a round purple moon suddenly appeared, and this purple moon was completely formed by extremely sharp sword lights. Boom! A loud sound was heard. The Chaos Devil Chi hit the purple moon sword lights. Chapter 224. The purple moon saber aura blocked the demon chi, and Leng Shiqi immediately felt an unimaginable force coming from his hands that were holding the saber. The impact shattered the armor on his arms, and blood oozed out from his palms. Fortunately, the mixed demon aura only had about 30% of its power left. Now that it had collided with the purple moon sword aura, it could not break through for a while. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Leng Shiqi continued to flap his wings, using the high altitude to wear down the mixed demon aura. At the same time, he could also avoid the mixed demon mystic Minx attack. The purple moon in front of Leng Shiqi was also fading and shrinking at a speed visible to the naked eye. It did not seem to be able to hold on for much longer. Finally, the purple moon sword aura shattered after 10 breaths. What was even more frightening was that the pair of 4th-grade spirit sabers in Leng Shiqi's hands also shattered. Leng Shiqi's heart ached. He had coveted this pair of spirit sabers for a long time on Blood Mist Island. Finally, it fell into his hands. It could be said that this pair of spirit sabers had been with him ever since he came to the outside world. Unfortunately, they were still destroyed by the attack of a 6th-grade demon beast. The purple moon fell and the spirit sabers shattered, but the mixed demon aura still existed. Although it was much weaker than before and probably only had 10% of its power left, Leng Shiqi still felt that his life was in danger. The mixed demon aura had already shot in front of Leng Shiqi. At this moment, he took out a small brown umbrella from his mustard seed bag. This umbrella was the 4th-grade defensive spirit weapon that Feng Shamo rewarded him with, the mountain umbrella. Leng Shiqi hurriedly opened the mountain umbrella in front of him. At the same time, the mixed demon aura also attacked. In an instant, Leng Shiqi heard a few cracking sounds. He did not need to look to know that there were cracks on the mountain umbrella. The 4th-grade defensive spirit weapon was so weak in front of the weakened mixed demon aura. The mountain umbrella did not live up to its name. It could not even block a single strand of demon aura, and followed in the footsteps of the spirit sabers. Although the mountain-holding umbrella was completely broken, the demonic qi had almost completely dissipated. Only a tiny bit of it surged into Leng Shiqi's body. In an instant, the pitch-black armor on Leng Shiqi's chest and abdomen emitted sizzling sounds as small holes were corroded one after another. At the same time, there was also a faint demonic aura burrowing into his body, constantly corroding his flesh and meridians. Leng Shiqi was shocked and hurriedly mobilized his spirit energy to dissolve the demonic aura. However, he could not help but spit out a large mouthful of blood. He had clearly suffered internal injuries. The good news was that the demonic qi had finally dissipated, and the Leng Shiqi had already flown high into the clouds. He quickly checked his injuries. Fortunately, they weren't too serious, so he didn't use healing touch. He had finally blocked the attack of a rank 6 monster. He had exhausted all his means, destroyed 2 4th-tier spirit artifacts, and suffered external and internal injuries. Only then was he able to block the demonic qi that shot over from afar. That was the power of a rank 6 monster. At this moment, Nine Leaf said with a slightly surprised tone, "I almost wanted to make a move just now. I didn't expect you to have so many tricks up your sleeve." Leng Shiqi's heart sank. Although he had blocked the attack of the demonic sable, he had also exposed a lot of his secrets. For example, this pair of wings, demonic skills, tiger wave stomping fist, 6 young poisonous fire palm, half moonlight slash, and so on. It could be said that other than the chaotic flower's gradually dazzling eyes that Nine Leaf had never seen before, he had nothing else to hide in front of Nine Leaf. However, he really didn't have any other methods. He couldn't bet on whether Nine Leaf would save him or not. It was better to hold the opportunity in his own hands than to entrust it to others. And even if Nine Leaf really made a move, her aura would be recognized by the demonic sable. If it spread to the Imperial Beast Abode and Blood Beast sect, then what awaited them would be a disaster. Nine Leaf seemed to have seen through Leng Shiqi's thoughts and said, "What, do you think you've exposed too many secrets? Don't worry, we signed an equal blood contract. Unless I'm crazy, I won't harm you." Leng Shiqi nodded silently. Nine Leaf continued, "Okay, since you've broken through to the Spirit Pulse realm and your combat power isn't bad, you should prepare some rank 2 monster cores for me. I only need a few dozen, and I can recover to a rank 3 monster." Leng Shiqi asked tentatively, "Can this matter be delayed? I want to wait until my realm is completely stabilized." Nine Leaf answered straightforwardly, "Of course. By the way, your wings are some kind of high-level spirit artifact, right? How long can you use them for?" Leng Shiqi's heart skipped a beat. Nine Leaf could tell at a glance that he couldn't use the wings for a long time. It could be seen how sharp his eyes were. He said, "I can only use them for about an hour." "Okay, let's hurry to the periphery. Since Old Sable is back, the remaining old friends might also be back. Be careful not to bump into them." To be called an old friend by Nine Leaf, it had to be a rank 6 monster. Leng Shiqi couldn't care less about his injuries and quickly flew out of the center of the mountain range. This time, it only took an hour for Leng Shiqi to fly to the periphery with Nine Leaf. The time limit of the wings was also up. Leng Shiqi soon found that there were very few rank 3 monsters here. It seemed that the demonic miasma mountain range was slowly returning to normal. Leng Shiqi opened up a space underground and prepared to consolidate his Spirit Pulse realm cultivation and heal his injuries. Only then did he notice 2 system notifications. The system is about to upgrade. It will take 30 natural days. The system will not be able to be used during the upgrade. The system has detected that the host cultivates an unknown cultivation method. Please name the cultivation method. Leng Shiqi wasn't surprised when he saw the first message. Every time he broke through a realm, the system would also upgrade. He was used to it. However, the second message surprised Leng Shiqi a little. Looking at this sentence, he opened the system and saw that there was a series of question marks behind the cultivation method in his information. Leng Shiqi thought about it. In fact, the information in the system had never been complete. This was because all the unique skills he had comprehended alone were not recorded by the system. This time, he had accidentally merged 3 cultivation methods and messed up the records of the cultivation methods in the original information. This meant that the system could detect the situation in his body, but it couldn't detect his thoughts and thoughts. Then Leng Shiqi thought about it. He should give his current cultivation method a name. His current cultivation method was a fusion of the 7 Fiend blood slaughter art, the Netherworld demon pattern diagram, and the Beast Essence Devil technique. Originally, these 3 cultivation methods were all incomplete. Leng Shiqi didn't know what rank the cultivation method would be after the fusion, but in short, it was much higher than rank 4. Leng Shiqi thought for a moment. Based on the principle that the longer the name, the more powerful it was, he named the cultivation method Heaven Fiend Netherworld Demon Beast Blood Slaughter Record. Chapter 225. Just as Leng Shiqi was about to consolidate his cultivation, Nine Leaves said, "Take out the Heaven Fei Soul Crystal. It's good for consolidating your cultivation. I've been helping you control those rank 3 beasts for the past few days and lost some vitality. It's time to make up for it." Hearing this, Leng Shiqi obediently took out the Heaven Fei Soul Crystal from the system space. However, he was instantly stunned because he could no longer summon the system. The system had entered an upgrade state, and he could not use the system for 10 days. The moment he took out the Heaven Fei Soul Crystal, the system automatically shut down. It could be said that Leng Shiqi could not take it back. "Forget it, I'll just cultivate here for 10 days. Leng Shiqi secretly decided. However, Nine Leaves' words made Leng Shiqi a little confused. He remembered that not much time had passed in the Spirit Spring, but Nine Leaves said that he had been controlling the rank 3 beasts for a few days. Thus he asked, "Senior Nine Leaf Jr. has a few doubts. I hope Senior can resolve them." After Leng Shiqi took out the Heaven Fei Soul Crystal, Nine Leaf ran to the bottom of the crystal and began to breathe in the demonic aura emitted by the crystal. She seemed to be in a good mood and said, "Ask away." "Senior Nine Leaf, how long have I been in the Spirit Spring?" Leng Shiqi asked. Nine Leaf narrowed her eyes and said, "Well, it's been about 4 days. 4 days? Leng Shiqi could not believe it. In his opinion, it had not been long. Nine Leaf continued, "Why else do you think old Martin suddenly rushed back? So that's how it is. This time, Junior was able to break through to the Spirit Vein realm all thanks to Senior Nine Leaf bringing me to the Spirit Spring and buying time for Junior. Junior will remember this kindness in his heart," Leng Shiqi said with a sincere tone. Regardless of the reason why Nine Leaves signed an equal blood contract with him in the beginning, and regardless of what Nine Leaves' intentions were, she had indeed helped him a lot this time. Nine Leaves said a little impatiently, "Enough, this old lady is most annoyed by your human race's hypocrisy. Once you've recovered, hurry up and get a Yao core for this old lady." Leng Shiqi rubbed his nose awkwardly. He had finally shown his sincerity, but all he got was a scolding. However, he still continued to ask, "Cough, Junior still has one thing that I don't understand. The Spirit Spring of the Mixed Devil Mystic Martin seems a bit strange. While I was cultivating, a demonic aura suddenly appeared in my body." Nine Leaf was not surprised as he said, "I've long seen through this. In fact, you originally cultivated a cultivation method related to demonic beasts. Your body already contains a portion of demonic blood. Otherwise, you wouldn't have been able to collect the Heavenly Fei Soul crystals. Previously, when you and I signed an equal blood contract, a portion of my soul energy stimulated your demonic blood. After that, you even borrowed my power. Although that power has dissipated, some of the remaining demonic power has seeped into your spiritual power. The most important thing was that Spirit Spring. The old Martin had the Spirit Spring for about 200 to 300 years. During this time, it had been tinkering with the Spirit Spring to make it more suitable for his cultivation. Therefore, there must be a lot of demonic power in it. With these few points, it wouldn't make sense for you to not have demonic spiritual power." Speaking of this, Leng Shiqi nodded secretly. This was a bit like when he was possessed by the devil spirit. There was an additional demonic spiritual power in his body. "Thank you, Senior, for clearing my doubts. Alright, don't disturb me. Anyway, you've solved it yourself." With that, Nine Leaf closed his eyes and ignored him. Leng Shiqi had no more doubts in his heart, but at this moment, he discovered another problem. He looked down and immediately discovered something wrong. It was also something that he had not paid too much attention to. That was his head. Originally, the heavenly face soul crystals automatically floated in the air and were at the same height as his head. But now the crystals only reached his shoulders. In other words, he had grown taller. The reason why Leng Shiqi only reacted now was because he was not unfamiliar with this height. This was the height he would reach after activating the spiritual Ruin Beast King's Beast Origin battle pattern. Did I not deactivate the Beast Origin battle pattern? But he clearly remembered that after escaping danger, he put away the Beast Origin battle armor. Then he closed his eyes and looked inside. What he saw shocked him. The spiritual Ruin Beast King's Beast Origin battle pattern behind him had disappeared. Leng Shiqi was startled at first, but he quickly calmed down. His eyes flashed with a sharp light, and then he thoughtfully used the cold energy to condense an ice mirror. He took off his shirt and looked at the bulging muscles on his body and arms, as well as his mature and resolute face. He seemed to understand. The spiritual Ruin Beast King's Beast Origin battle pattern did not disappear, it was permanently activated. Or rather, it had completely merged into his body. Leng Shiqi did not expect this change. He thought to himself, this might be the effect of the cultivation method fusion. Anyway, it's a good thing. I don't have to pretend to be an old man anymore. Also, there's an extra spot to fuse the Beast Origin battle pattern. But I still have to think of an excuse to deal with people I know about this change. After understanding everything, Leng Shiqi finally immersed himself in cultivation. This cultivation session lasted for 5 days. He used these 5 days to completely stabilize his spirit pulse realm cultivation. The injuries on his body were also under control. He just needed to rest for a few more days to completely recover. At this time, Nineleaf opened his eyes as if he sensed something. His eyes stared straight at Leng Shiqi and said, with your current strength, hunting Tier 2 demonic beasts is as easy as turning over your hand. Hurry up and go get some Tier 2 demonic pills. She had waited for this day for a long time. If not for the fact that she was afraid of exposing herself and wasting power, she would have done it herself. However, Leng Shiqi did not answer. Instead, he took out an exquisite small cloth bag from his mustard seed bag. He opened the cloth bag. Inside were dozens of rank 2 beast cores. These beast cores were left behind by the rank 2 beasts he had killed since entering the demonic Miasma mountain range. He planned to fuse them with the Beast Origin battle pattern. But now, he was not interested in these rank 2 beast cores. Nineleaf's mung bean-sized eyes suddenly stared. Leng Shiqi, you've been hiding something. Before Leng Shiqi could speak, Nineleaf opened her mouth and swallowed the dozens of beast cores. Then Nineleaf's body began to sway in a daze. She said, I'm going to sleep for a while. Don't cause trouble. After she finished speaking, she lay on the ground. Leng Shiqi picked her up. Thinking that he was holding a rank 7 great beast in his hand, he was a little dazed. Then he shook his head and stuffed Nineleaf into his arms. He was very happy that Nineleaf was asleep. The system would be upgraded in 5 days. Nineleaf looked like she would wake up in a short time, which gave him a chance to hide the system. Next, he planned to cultivate the Bloody Slaughter 7 Fiend art, which could only be learned by those in the Spirit Pulse realm. Chapter 226. Now that the Bloody Slaughter 7 Fiend art and the 9 Nether Devil pattern had merged into one, he could naturally cultivate their own characteristics and spiritual skills at will. Leng Shiqi planned to cultivate the spiritual skill attached to the Bloody Slaughter 7 Fiend art. This was also the specialty of the Blood Cloak assassins of the Blood Cloak Pavilion, Carnage. Carnage was an auxiliary spiritual skill that was a rank 4 spiritual skill. It was a bit similar to the secret skill that Tang Hapu used to burn his blood essence. However, Carnage was much more advanced than that secret skill. Carnage also required blood essence to be used. The difference was that Carnage condensed blood essence, spiritual power, evil aura, and even will into a bloodline. This blood vein was also very flexible. Like a magic pattern, it could be applied to any place. For example, if one was good at fist techniques, it could be attached to the fist. If one was good at sword techniques, it could also be attached to the blade. This bloodline could allow the user to erupt with extremely strong combat power. The disadvantage was that it would also consume a part of the blood essence. The higher the level of carnage, the less blood essence would be consumed, and the stronger the explosive power of the bloodline. Leng Shiqi could not use the system now, so he spent a rare day purely relying on himself to cultivate carnage. However, he was still injured and had not fully recovered, so he did not try to use carnage. Next, Leng Shiqi began to prepare to condense the devil pattern again. When he was at the spirit transformation realm, he had condensed 9 devil patterns. Now that he was at the first level of the spirit pulse realm, he could condense 9 more devil patterns. 2 hours later, he condensed another 9 devil inscriptions. A total of 18 devil inscriptions could actually increase his strength by more than twofold. Leng Shiqi nodded with satisfaction. However, at this time, he suddenly remembered that the carnage of the Bloody Slaughter 7 Fiend Art and the devil pattern of the 9 Nether Devil pattern were auxiliary spiritual skills. Since he had even fused the cultivation method, these 2 spiritual skills could also be fused. In the following time, Leng Shiqi immersed himself in fusing the 2 spiritual skills, but the process was not very smooth. This was not because he did not have enough comprehension, but because he did not have enough blood essence. Every time he used carnage, he would need to consume a few drops of blood essence. If he didn't have any nourishing items, he would need more than 10 days to replenish his blood essence. He had only tried to fuse it once before giving up. He planned to wait until his injuries were healed, and the system had upgraded carnage to full mastery. For days passed quickly, and the system upgrade was finally completed. Leng Shiqi opened the system and saw this message. Name: Leng Shiqi Lusingji Cultivation Level. First level of Spiritual Pulse Realm status. Loss of Qi and Blood, Light Injury Cultivation Method. Special Cultivation Technique Heaven Fiend 9 Nether Demonic Beast Blood Record Bloodline. Spiritual Skills. Level 4 Spiritual Skill Blood Carnage. Level 4 Spiritual Skill, 17 Sword Techniques of Mount Song Secret Technique. Breath Control Technique Secret Technique. Soul Splitting Technique Secret Technique. Grasping Flowers System Coins. For compared to before, the system's information had changed a little. First of all, there was an additional status column. At this moment, Leng Shiqi's health was slightly depleted after using carnage once. The other change was the bloodline. Leng Shiqi remembered clearly that there was a set of question marks behind the bloodline before. Now there were 2 sets of question marks. Could it be that I have more than one type of bloodline in my body? Leng Shiqi could only guess. After that, he threw this matter to the back of his mind, because there was something more important waiting for him. Every time the system was upgraded, an additional system would be opened. There would also be a free unlimited lottery draw. Leng Shiqi looked at the other parts of the system. Sure enough, there was an additional shop sign behind the map. However, when he saw the 2 words, the corner of his eyes twitched slightly. It was obvious that the system was here to cheat him of his money. However, Leng Shiqi still had a glimmer of hope and opened the shop system. However, the shop was very shabby. There were only 4 items. Leng Shiqi carefully looked at the shop's instructions and understood. The shop's full name was Random Shop. In other words, the items in the shop would appear randomly. Every natural day, the shop would refresh with new items. Leng Shiqi looked at the 4 items in the shop. The first of them was the level 1 index card that he had used before. This could be used to select a type of world during the lottery draw. The price was 100 system coins. 100 system coins is equivalent to a mid-level lottery draw. That's a little expensive. Leng Shiqi frowned. Then he looked around and saw the second item. It was a piece of light blue bamboo. It was said to be a rare material and cost 150 system coins. Leng Shiqi automatically skipped over it. The third item was a skill called Dawn Strike. It came from a game world and was equivalent to a level 3 spiritual skill in this world. It also cost 100 system coins. Leng Shiqi shook his head secretly. He did not want any of these 3 items. Moreover, the price was indeed a little expensive. The lowest price was 100 system coins. After all, he only sold the corpse of the level 3 Red Crag Beast for 73 system coins. However, when Leng Shiqi saw the last item, his heart skipped a beat. It was a sword. The body of the sword was slender, and the hilt was inlaid with a green gem. The blade shone with a faint green light. At first glance, it was not an ordinary item. Level 4 spiritual weapon, green rain sword. The price was shockingly 200 system coins. Leng Shiqi's level 4 spiritual sword was destroyed in order to resist the mixed demon qi. Now that he was lacking a suitable spiritual sword, this green rain sword appeared at the right time. However, Leng Shiqi was embarrassingly short of money. He looked at his remaining 4 system coins and wanted to cry, but no tears came out. I have to think of a way to get some system coins. He now had 2 feasible methods. The first was to sell the black lump that he had picked up in the demon suppressing town. He had not had the time to study that item. He originally wanted to ask Nine Leaf about it, but now Nine Leaf had fallen into a deep sleep. The second method was to get 200 system coins in one day. The first method was the simplest, but Leng Shiqi was still a little unwilling. That black lump might be an incredible treasure. The second method was easier said than done. Unless he could rob someone else's treasury again. Leng Shiqi thought for a moment, and decided to go out and see if he could kill a level 3 monster. Now that his strength had skyrocketed, if he could kill 3 level 3 monsters in one day, he would naturally be able to buy the green rain sword. If he could not, and there was no other way, he would have to sell the metal lump. After making up his mind, Leng Shiqi finally opened the lottery system. The unlimited lottery option was lit up at this moment. Leng Shiqi had 3 unlimited lottery chances. The prizes were unlimited skill points, Hand of Earth, and Byakugan. These 3 prizes, no matter which one it was, were important to him. Therefore, he was full of anticipation as he clicked on the unlimited lottery option. Chapter 227. Leng Shiqi clicked on the infinite lottery. A light flashed, and a system prompt appeared in front of his eyes. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the advanced prize, Spiritual Fantasy Realm. Spiritual Fantasy Realm? What's that? Leng Shiqi was puzzled, but in the next moment, his vision turned black, and in the blink of an eye, his consciousness had arrived in the spiritual space. He was still a little confused, and immediately his spiritual space suddenly shook. Leng Shiqi was horrified. If there was a problem with the spiritual space, he would become an idiot. The edges of the spiritual space began to collapse, but strangely, Leng Shiqi did not feel any discomfort. Instead, he felt like his spiritual body had been sublimated. He looked down and saw that his spiritual body had completely formed a complete human form at some point, and his body was still slowly growing. Spiritual Fantasy Realm. Is it something that strengthens spiritual power? His spiritual space was still expanding, and suddenly, a ray of light appeared in the incomparably dark spiritual space. In the blink of an eye, the light illuminated the entire spiritual space like a god descending to earth, and a translucent light curtain appeared at the edge of the spiritual space. Leng Shiqi controlled his spiritual body to fly here and knock on the light curtain, and immediately, there was a dong-dong sound. This light curtain is a bit like a protective shield. Maybe it can resist some illusions. If that's the case, things like illusions are less of a threat to me. While he was still studying the light curtain, an unexpected thing appeared in the center of the spiritual space, a heavenly face soul crystal. The heavenly face soul crystal actually came into his spiritual space. Before Leng Shiqi knew what was going on, the spiritual space suddenly shook again. In an instant, the heavenly face soul crystal suddenly shot out countless green threads. When the threads hit the translucent light screen, the light screen was instantly dyed a pale green. At the same time, the heavenly face soul crystal suddenly released a powerful suction force and sucked Leng Shiqi's spiritual body over. Leng Shiqi could not help but be shocked, but he immediately felt a huge and pure spiritual power pouring into his body. His spiritual body began to expand at a speed visible to the naked eye. In just a short moment, his spiritual body had grown to the size of a 7 or 8-year-old child. At this time, the spiritual power disappeared, and the spiritual space returned to normal, but Leng Shiqi was still a little shaken. The spiritual space had undergone a huge change. the sudden appearance of the heavenly Fey Soul Crystal, and the increase of his spiritual power. This series of changes completely exceeded his understanding. But overall, this was a good thing, but when he saw the heavenly Fey Soul Crystal, he still had a headache. The heavenly Fey Soul Crystal ran into of his spiritual space. How was he going to explain this to Nine? Accidentally lose it? Lung Shiqi shook his head and didn't know what to do. He could only take one step at a time. Then, his consciousness returned to his original body, of Shiqi's as of time, of Shiqi's as of the eyes as of his fantasies, of his spiritual of his spiritual. It would be a lie to say that he was not satisfied. Lung Shiqi felt that it was a pity that there weren't any new lottery options after the system upgrade. Now that he had broken through to the spiritual pulse realm, some of the rank 3 spiritual skills and spiritual weapons were no longer of interest to him. And the probability of getting a rank 4 item from the intermediate lottery was still too low. After a simple packing, Lung Shiqi returned to the ground. He immediately activated Byakugan to search for rank 3 demonic beasts nearby. After activating Byakugan, he immediately felt that Byakugan's range of vision had greatly increased. Now Byakugan's range of vision had a radius of 4 to 5 miles. The increase in his realm and spiritual power had also caused Byakugan to evolve a lot. This was also an additional surprise. Byakugan's vision expanded, and he immediately found a rank 3 demonic beast. Then he quickly rushed over. And his speed was more than twice as fast as before. Not long after, Lung Shiqi saw an elk that was emitting a faint silver brilliance and looked somewhat holy. Lung Shiqi thought, silver ground elk? No, it's a holy silver elk. He only had information about the silver ground elk in his mind. After a rank 2 silver ground elk evolved to rank 3, it became a holy silver elk. Although it was a demonic beast, it did not have any demonic aura. Instead, it had a holy aura, which was very rare. Lung Shiqi did not dare to be careless. He tried his best to conceal his aura and slowly approached, but he was discovered by the holy silver elk after a few steps. The holy silver elk turned its head, and its jade-like antlers suddenly shot out 2 rays of silver light, directly at Lung Shiqi. Lung Shiqi's spiritual power surged, and in an instant, a pitch-black demonic armor appeared on his body. There were traces of blood flowing on the demonic armor. Not only that, but his eyes also turned white at the same time. Facing the 2 rays of silver light, Lung Shiqi's unadorned jade sword continuously surged out dozens of blue frost sword chi. The sword chi quickly engulfed the 2 streaks of silver light, then continued on toward the holy silver deer without slowing down in the slightest. The holy silver elk's body glowed with silver light, and suddenly turned into a silver phantom, easily dodging all the frost sword chi, and pounced at Lung Shiqi. Lung Shiqi said in surprise, "What a fast speed!" However, he was not slow at all. With a shake of his body, he split into a total of 24 phantoms. 24 Lung Shiqi, with jade-colored sword chi and frost sword chi all over the sky. Not only did they dodge the holy silver elk's attack, but they also drowned the holy silver elk in the boundless sword chi. The holy silver elk did not stop. It quickly dodged in the sea of sword chi, like a small boat in a huge wave, and could capsize at any time. When the sword chi dissipated, the silver light on the holy silver elk's body dimmed a lot, and there were sword marks of different depths everywhere. And those sword marks still contained frost energy that froze the holy silver elk's body, making it stiff all over. Yo-yo! The holy silver elk let out a strange cry. Now that the frost energy had entered its body, it had lost the speed it was most proud of, and it seemed to know what was going to happen to it. Lung Shiqi stretched out his hand. He did not have a saber in his hand, but he emitted an extremely sharp saber intent. The strange gray spiritual energy in his body flowed quickly. He waved his hand in front of him, and a gray full moon rose up. This was the full moon light formed completely by saber intent and saber chi. The full moon was filled with murderous intent, and the holy silver elk also felt that death was coming, so it screamed and wanted to run away. However, Lung Shiqi raised his left hand, and 4 mud walls that were 5 feet wide and 3 feet tall suddenly appeared and surrounded the holy silver elk. Boom! The holy silver elk smashed through one of the mud walls, but the gray full moon was already coming down. In an instant, countless saber-chi scattered in all directions, cutting down all the trees in the surrounding area, and destroying the holy silver elk's life force. A dignified rank 3 demonic beast was actually killed by Leng Shiqi in just a few moves. This was not the heavily injured earthbound rat from before, but a holy silver elk that was famous for its speed. Leng Shiqi walked up and looked at the holy silver elk's broken corpse in a daze. After a few breaths he laughed lightly. I am already this strong in the spirit pulse realm. In fact, this was indeed the case. His own cultivation technique, the Heavenly Fiend 9 Hell Demonic Beast Blood Devouring Record, was a fusion of 3 cultivation techniques with great potential. Just this point alone made his strength much stronger than an ordinary Spirit Vein stage cultivator at the first level of the Spirit Vein stage. His spiritual energy was also a fusion of demonic and demonic spiritual energy. Not only was it extremely pure, it was also very destructive. Other than that, after breaking through to the Spirit Pulse realm, Leng Shiqi's own unique techniques had also increased. There was also the armor he was wearing. This armor was based on the Red Crag Beast's Beast Origin battle runes, combined with the characteristics of the 9 Hell Demonic pattern, and the 7 Fiend Blood Slaughter art. It could be said that it increased his strength in all aspects. Under all these superpositions, Leng Shiqi was no longer able to judge his own strength, but just based on the fact that he was able to kill the Holy Silver Deer, he was not weaker than a spirit cultivator at the 3rd level of the Spirit Vein stage. Next, he skillfully collected the Holy Silver Elk's demonic core and sold the corpse. Unfortunately, the corpse was heavily damaged by him, and he only sold it for 51 system coins. Finally, Leng Shiqi looked at the demonic armor on his body and muttered, "It's not appropriate to call this armor Beast Origin battle runes anymore. Let's call it Demonic Beast Blood Rune Armor." He removed the Demonic Beast Blood Rune Armor, but at this time, he was shocked to find that over 1,000 Spirit Transformation Realm cultivators had entered his vision, and the number was still increasing, and there were a few that Leng Shiqi was very familiar with. Chapter 228. As early as half a month ago, the demon-suppressing town welcomed strong reinforcements, the Red Thunder Army. After the news of the Beast Tide rampage in the demonic Miasma mountain range, the Thunderfire dynasty mobilized 10,000 Red Thunder Army to guard the demon-suppressing town. However, after the Red Thunder Army entered the demon-suppressing town, they learned from Lei Yuanwu and the Old City Lord that the Beast Tide would not attack the town. It was very likely that the people of the Imperial Beast Camp and the Blood Beast sect were plotting something behind all this. In other words, the Red Thunder Army came here in vain. However, in order to stabilize the people, the Red Thunder Army was still stationed in the demon-suppressing town. Half a month ago, even in the demon-suppressing town, everyone could feel the terrible power of the divine punishment in the depths of the demonic Miasma mountain range. Especially those who were experienced and knowledgeable, they guessed that there was a rank 6 demonic beast going through the tribulation. Lei Yuanwu and the others finally understood why the Imperial Beast Camp and the Blood Beast sect went through so much trouble. However, so what if they knew? They were still not qualified to participate in it. Since then, the City Lord's mansion had gradually spread the news that the Beast Tide would not break out. At first, no one believed it, but after so long, not a single demonic beast rushed out of the demonic Miasma mountain range. Everyone gradually began to accept it. In order to completely eliminate the worries in the hearts of the residents in the city, today, the Red Thunder Army and the city guards once again carried out a big sweep to clean up the demonic beasts. The city guards who had participated in the clearing mission at the beginning became the guides of the Red Thunder Army, including the team of Leng Shiqi. Because Leng Shiqi was dead, the captain of his guards was taken over by Ding Zhou. This time, he, Ding Li, and Yang Jingqi led hundreds of Red Thunder Army into the demonic Miasma mountain range. At this moment, Yang Jingqi was walking silently, but suddenly, the bloody centipede that had been sleeping in his body for a long time moved. Yang Jingqi was shocked and felt a chill on his back. Unconsciously, a layer of cold sweat appeared on his forehead. He immediately thought of a person, Leng Shiqi. But wasn't Leng Shiqi dead? Ding Zhou noticed him and asked, "Brother Yang, what's wrong with you?" "Nothing, I just feel a little nervous." Yang Zhengqi immediately recovered and said perfunctorily. Ding Zhou's voice became louder. He said, "Brother Yang, you worry too much. With the brothers of the Red Thunder Army here, we have nothing to be afraid of." Yes, I was worrying too much." Yang Zhengqi wiped off his cold sweat. He didn't care about Ding Zhou's thoughts because he had other thoughts in his mind. Only Leng Shiqi could trigger the blood-colored centipede in his body, which meant that Leng Shiqi was not dead. However, he didn't show himself directly. Instead, he used this method to remind him that he wanted to meet him alone. Thinking of this, Yang Zhengqi coughed twice to attract the attention of others. He pretended to be shy and said, "Captain Ding, I have something urgent to deal with. You don't have to worry about me. I'll catch up with everyone later." Ding Zhou frowned and waved his hand when he saw him looking like he needed to go to the toilet. Yang Zhengqi immediately went into the dense forest next to him. He walked for a long time before stopping. His throat was agitated and he didn't know how to say a word. Are you looking for me?" An old and hoarse voice suddenly came from all directions. Yang Zhengqi's body suddenly trembled. He recognized this voice. The owner of this voice was the Leng Shiqi who planted the centipede curse in his body and later died. Of course, in Yang Zhengqi's memory, it should be Senior Lu. As Senior, you didn't die. Yang Zhengqi's heart was covered with a layer of fear. He really couldn't understand how the other party escaped from the hands of a rank 3 monster. What was the purpose of finding him now? "What, do you want me to die?" No, I've never had such thoughts." Yang Zhengqi said a little flustered. Leng Shiqi was hiding in the dark and felt a little funny when he saw Yang Zhengqi's current appearance. He remembered that when he threatened Yang Zhengqi was a stubborn duck. Now Yang Zhengqi's life must be better, and he knew to cherish his life more. The reason why Leng Shiqi didn't show up was that his current size had changed. Although he still had the human skin mask in his hand, his body shape couldn't be changed. He simply used the voice-changing technique to imitate his previous voice and then spread it out with spiritual power. Leng Shiqi also had a lot of questions, so he said, "It's still the same. Answer my questions, and I can take back the centipede curse in your body." "I'll tell you everything I know." Leng Shiqi asked. "Very good. First, tell me about the demon-suppressing town and the city guards. Also, why did so many people enter the demonic miasma mountain range?" Yang Zhengqi told him everything he knew. Leng Shiqi also understood that these people were from the Red Thunder Army. Leng Shiqi understood. Now that the demonic miasma mountain range was about to return to normal, and he had broken through to the spiritual pulse realm, he should be ready to leave here and return to Donglin County. Therefore, Yang Zhengqi was useless. Leng Shiqi gently crooked his finger, and then a bloody centipede was outlined from Yang Zhengqi's body and dissipated in the air. Leng Shiqi said lightly, "You can go." Yang Zhengqi was still a little confused at this time. He had always thought that Leng Shiqi would kill him sooner or later, but now he really let him go. However, he immediately came to his senses and knelt down, saying, "Thank you for not killing me, Senior." However, no one answered him. Leng Shiqi had already left. If Leng Shiqi was still in the spirit transformation realm, he might really kill Yang Zhengqi. But now that he was in the celestial being 4 realms, his vision and outlook had expanded a lot. Moreover, he would return to Donglin County soon. If nothing went wrong, he would not come to the demon-suppressing town for a long time. Yang Zhengqi's life and death became a little insignificant. Since Yang Zhengqi was no threat to Leng Shiqi, and he was not a bloodthirsty person, there was no harm in sparing Yang Zhengqi's life. Of course, Leng Shiqi did not leave the demonic miasma mountain range immediately, because he had already thought of a way to collect 200 system coins in one day. Soon after, Ding Zhou and the hundreds of Red Thunder Army soldiers encountered several rank 2 demonic beasts, and they separated to encircle and suppress them. Ding Zhou, Deng Li, and 7 Red Thunder Army soldiers worked together to kill a rank 2 demonic beast. Ding Zhou was familiar with the process, and was about to go forward to deal with the demonic beast's corpse. At this moment, a sudden change occurred. The ground beneath the 9 of them suddenly collapsed. In a moment of carelessness, the 9 of them all fell into a huge pit. Before they could understand what was going on, they felt a sharp pain at the back of their necks. Their vision turned black and they lost consciousness. At this time, a figure suddenly appeared in the big pit. It was Leng Shiqi. The way he thought of was to plunder all kinds of resources from these Red Thunder Army soldiers and the city guards. The Red Thunder Army soldiers who could come into and encircle and suppress the demonic beasts were all elites. Just the weapons and armor they carried with them were expensive, and they must have a lot of spirit stones and various resources. Leng Shiqi laughed and said, "I didn't expect that one day I would be in this kind of business. Forget it, let's hurry up and do it, lest others are attracted." Unfortunately, these people did not have many resources with them, but with the help of the rank 2 demonic beasts, Leng Shiqi finally collected 200 system coins and bought the Qinglin saber in the system shop. In the end, he went all the way back to the demon-suppressing town and embarked on the journey home. Chapter 229. A month later, in Donglin County's Shi City, a robust young man dressed in black walked in. The young man looked to be around 18 or 19 years old. He was not short and his cultivation was not weak either. He was at the middle stage of the spirit transformation realm. He had a slender spirit saber on his waist and 2 bags on his back, one big and one small. Looking at his travel-worn appearance, one could tell that he had traveled a long way. This young man was Leng Shiqi, who had hidden his cultivation. Back then, he had directly used the teleportation array from the Donglin County branch and arrived at the demon-suppressing town in 2 days. At the same time, he had taken 800 drops of blood and more than 1,000 spirit stones. Of course, he did not receive the treatment of being teleported back. Fortunately, his breakthrough to the spirit pulse realm was not slow, so he had enough time to return. In fact, he did not plan to return directly. He still wanted to hunt a few more rank 3 monsters. However, in order to collect 200 system coins in 1 day to buy the Green Rain Saber, he had robbed the Red Thunder Army and the city guards. This could be considered as completely offending them. Later, many experts of the 4 realms of the Sky Realm surrounded him. He had no choice but to leave the demonic Miasma mountain range. This Shi city was already very close to Shangyang City. There was a distance of 200 to 300 miles between the two. Leng Shiqi estimated that he would be able to return to the branch in 2 or 3 days. However, the number of spirit cultivators in the city was beyond his imagination. Groups of spirit cultivators could be seen everywhere, and almost all of them seemed to be rogue cultivators. This was not a city that only spirit cultivators could enter like the demon-suppressing town. How could there be so many spirit cultivators gathered here? Leng Shiqi thought to himself. What happened in the Shi city? He shook his head. No matter what happened in the city, he did not want to get involved. He just wanted to return to the branch as soon as possible. After that, Leng Shiqi casually walked into an inn and prepared to rest in a room. Unexpectedly, there was a group of people who reeked of alcohol pushing and shoving, cursing and swearing as they rushed out. Scarly, you want to get the illusory palace token of Shi City with your lousy saber technique? Bah, come. Today I will spar with you and let you broaden your horizons. You arrogant my ass. Watch me chop you in half. Scarfacely was a sloppy man with a long scar on his face. His face was flushed red and his eyes were blurred. He couldn't even stand steadily. It was obvious that he was drunk. But at this moment, he actually pulled out his broadsword and slashed. But the person he cut was not the person who argued with him, but Leng Shiqi. Leng Shiqi wrinkled his nose when he saw Scarface Li's drunken body slashing towards him. Immediately, he stretched out 2 fingers and gently caught Scarface Li's broadsword. Scarface Li thought that he had chopped the right person. He opened his mouth and cursed out a lot of unbearable words. His spittle flew all over the sky, but his saber still didn't move an inch. Let go of me. Let go of me. Leng Shiqi flicked his finger, and the broadsword was immediately sent flying. Scarface Li was also overthrown by a huge force. His casual move caused the surroundings to quiet down a bit. Scarfacely was also at the middle stage of the spirit transformation realm, but he was so easily suppressed by a youth? Even if Scarfacely was drunk, he shouldn't be so weak. This could only mean that this youth was not simple. At such a young age, he was already at the middle stage of the spirit transformation realm. His strength was also not ordinary. He was probably a disciple of a spirit cultivation sect. At this time, Scarfacely crawled up from the ground and rushed over again, but he was stopped by several people who came together to stop him. The person who argued with him just now walked up to Lung Shiqi and said, "Little brother, Scarfacely was drunk and caused trouble. I apologized to little brother on his behalf." Lung Shiqi felt that this was a bit interesting. Just a moment ago, he had a quarrel with Scarfacely and almost fought with him. Now he was helping him to apologize. He shook his head slightly and said, "It's fine." Then he walked to the counter in the store, and Scarfacely was dragged out by a few people. Lung Shiqi was not interested in the relationship between these people. What he was interested in was the illusory palace token they mentioned. Moreover, they said the illusory palace token of Shur-E City, which meant that other cities also had this thing. It was just that he had never heard of this thing. Out of curiosity, he didn't rush to rest after getting a room. Instead, he ordered some food and wine in the hall. He also asked about the illusory palace token. Fortunately, the illusory palace token was not a secret, and now the streets and alleys were talking about it. Lung Shiqi understood the whole story after eating a meal. It turned out that all of this was related to the illusory spirit secret realm. According to legend, the illusory spirit secret realm was within the scope of Donglin County. It was a space that was independently opened by a supreme expert 10,000 years ago. He established an incomparably powerful sect, but later on, for unknown reasons, the sect was suddenly destroyed, and the expert's whereabouts were unknown. More than 1,000 years ago, the illusory spirit secret realm suddenly appeared, and it opened once every 100 years. Not long after, it was time for the secret realm to open again. After more than 1,000 years, the illusory spirit secret realm was gradually controlled by the various spirit cultivator sects in Donglin County. However, there were also many rogue cultivators, and they certainly didn't want to miss this opportunity. Because of this, there was once a battle between rogue cultivators and spirit cultivator sections. Later on, the Mountain Sea sect came forward and made a 10-faced illusory palace token. Any rogue cultivator with this token could enter the illusory spirit secret realm. This 10-faced illusory palace token was distributed in the 10 large cities of Donglin County. Every time before the illusory spirit secret realm opened, these cities would open the fighting arena. Spirit cultivators above the spirit transformation realm could participate, and the strongest among them could obtain the illusory palace token. Lung Shiqi was not interested in this illusory palace token, but he was curious about the illusory spirit secret realm. However, he knew that he had no chance to enter. This was because the Blood Robe Pavilion was not allowed to participate in the birth of this kind of secret realm. Although the Donglin County branch was not weak and was comparable to a second-rate force, it was impossible for it to have a quota to enter the illusory spirit secret realm. Therefore, he didn't think too much about it. However, to his surprise, he actually heard some rumors about the Blood Robe Pavilion. 2 months ago, the Donglin County branch had easily annihilated a third-rate force. Lung Shiqi had personally participated in the battle to destroy the Golden Wing Academy. After that, the entire Donglin County was shaken, and the branch became famous. During the time he was away, Feng Shamo had destroyed another third-rate sect. Now the Blood Robe Pavilion's Donglin County branch was even more famous than the Tang family. After filling his stomach, Lung Shiqi returned to his room and put down the 2 bags behind him. One of them was a bag he used as a disguise, and there were some things like travel expenses in it. The other, smaller bag contained 9 leaf. At this moment, 9 leaf was already the size of 2 palms, and it was no longer suitable to be stuffed into his arms. He didn't have a spirit beast bag, so he had to wrap her in the bag. He didn't know what this 7th-level great demon would do when she knew about his treatment. Lung Shiqi placed 9 leaf on the table and looked at her to see if she showed any signs of waking up. Obviously she hadn't. Then Lung Shiqi wrapped her up and went to cultivate. Until night fell, He didn't notice that the bag suddenly moved slightly. Chapter 230. 3 days later, Leng Shiqi, wearing a mask, finally returned to the pavilion in Donglin County after nearly 5 months. The moment he stepped into the pavilion, he immediately felt a busy atmosphere. Everyone in the pavilion was in a hurry, as if they were very busy. Leng Shiqi felt a little strange. He remembered that there were always dozens of people wandering in the square when he came back. Now there were more people in the square, but they were all handing in tasks. He looked around as he walked, but what he didn't know was that a silver-striped assassin behind him suddenly made a strange gesture. Immediately after, everyone who saw this hand gesture quietly gathered around. As Leng Shiqi walked, he suddenly felt a cold killing intent enveloping him. He turned around abruptly, and saw dozens of assassins had surrounded him from behind. The silver-striped assassin asked in a deep voice, "Who are you? How did you get in?" Leng Shiqi's heart skipped a beat when he heard this. He seemed to know why this happened. It was because his body shape had changed too much. In the blood-clothed pavilion, because everyone was wearing a mask, it was impossible to distinguish others from their appearance. They could only recognize others by their body shape. Therefore, the assassins in the blood-clothed pavilion had a pair of sharp eyes. They could tell at a glance that the current Leng Shiqi had never appeared before. Leng Shiqi didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He had to say, "Brothers, I'm Leng Shiqi." Leng Shiqi? The Leng Shiqi who killed Tang and Pu? Impossible, Leng Shiqi is clearly a short boy. Yes, even if you want to disguise your identity, you should give a reliable name. Leng Shiqi didn't know whether to laugh or cry. There was no need for him to disguise himself. I changed my body shape because there was a problem with the cultivation method I practiced. Besides, my voice didn't change, right? It's just an imitation of the voice. It's nothing clever. Leng Shiqi was speechless. If he had to prove that it was him, he could only use the unique skill that he had used in the Golden Wing Academy. Just as they were in a stalemate, Feng Shaimo was attracted by the commotion. As soon as he appeared, all the assassins of the Blood Garment Pavilion instantly quieted down. They seemed to be in awe of Feng Shaimo. Seeing Feng Shaimo come out, Leng Shiqi sighed in relief. When Feng Shaimo saw Leng Shiqi, he released a powerful spiritual pressure without any hesitation. Then Leng Shiqi felt a force sweep over his body. Feng Shaimo let out a soft cry of surprise. "It really is you, come in with me." "Grand Pavilion Lord." The assassin cupped his hands, but was interrupted by Feng Shaimo. A person's body shape, appearance and voice can be easily changed, but their aura can't be changed. "He is undoubtedly Leng Shiqi," Feng Shaimo said. When he said this, everyone was slightly shocked. However, when they thought of what they had just done, they all felt a bit embarrassed and quickly left. Of course, if they had to do it again, they would still do it. Leng Shiqi followed Feng Shaimo to the Grand Pavilion Lord Stone Palace. Feng Shaimo directly said, "You actually did it." Under the mask, Leng Shiqi raised his eyebrows. At this moment, he had used the breath-concealing technique to hide his cultivation, only revealing the middle stage of the spirit transformation realm. However, from Feng Shamo's words, it was clear that he had seen through his true cultivation. It seems that even someone at the spirit astral realm like Feng Shamo can see through my disguise. The breath-concealing technique is not omnipotent. Leng Shiqi secretly thought. Feng Shamo continued. "You really did it. It seems that you had a fortuitous encounter in the demonic Miasma mountain range. I heard that you are only 14 years old. To reach the spirit vein realm at 14 years old, even I can't compare." Leng Shiqi didn't show any joy. He calmly said, "Disciple doesn't deserve it." It was indeed shocking that he had reached the spirit vein realm at 14 years old. However, others were only amazed by his potential, not his strength. He had exhausted all his means in the face of a rank 6 demonic beast's demonic chi, and was even injured. This made him realize that the spirit vein realm was nothing at all. Feng Shamo saw that Leng Shiqi didn't feel happy or proud because of this. He secretly nodded and said, "Since you have reached the spirit vein realm as promised, I will also fulfill my promise. Have you ever heard of the phantom spirit realm?" Phantom Spirit Realm. Leng Shiqi's heart skipped a beat. He had just heard about it 2 days ago in Shi City. Was what Feng Shamo was going to say related to the Phantom Spirit Realm? Disciple has heard a little about it. Yes, the Phantom Spirit Realm only opens once every 100 years. However, after thousands of years, the space inside has become weaker and weaker. Now, only Spirit Vein Realm cultivators can enter. Hearing this, Leng Shiqi had a guess. Feng Shamo wanted him to enter the Phantom Spirit Realm. Sure enough, Feng Shamo continued. I can arrange for you to enter the Phantom Spirit Realm. There is a special type of spirit stone inside called the Divine Illusion Spirit Stone. I need it. Leng Shiqi said with a bit of difficulty, but as far as Disciple knows, people from the Blood Robe Pavilion can't enter the Phantom Spirit Realm. Feng Shamo snorted and said, Humph, they can't enter just because they say so? Don't worry about this. I will arrange everything for you. When the time comes, I guarantee that you can enter the Phantom Spirit Realm. You must know that the Phantom Spirit Realm doesn't only have the Divine Illusion Spirit Stone. There are many other treasures. How much you can get will depend on your own ability. Leng Shiqi understood Feng Shamo's words. Being able to enter the Phantom Spirit Realm was a huge opportunity in itself. Helping him collect the Divine Illusion Spirit Stone was reasonable. However, not long ago, he felt that it was impossible for him to enter the Phantom Spirit Realm. Now he had no choice. Leng Shiqi nodded and said, Disciple understands. Of course, the pavilion won't mistreat you. If you can gather a Divine Illusion Spirit Stone for me, it'll be a contribution of 100 drops of blood. There's no upper limit. Feng Shamo threw out another huge temptation. Leng Shiqi knew that although he was in the Spirit Vein Realm, he wasn't a Blood Robe Assassin. If he wanted to become a Blood Robe Assassin, he needed 1,000 blood drops. However, he used 800 blood drops to teleport to the Demon Suppressing City, and another 100 to exchange for the human skin mask. Now he only had 150 blood drops left. There was still a long way to go to 1,000. According to Feng Shamo, as long as he could collect more than 9 Divine Illusion Spirit Stones in the Phantom Spirit Realm, he would have 1,000. He finally had a strong motivation and said, Disciple will definitely do his best to share the burden of the Pavilion Master. Very good. There is still more than a month before the Phantom Spirit Realm opens. During this time, you should get used to the power of the Spirit Vein Realm. Remember, when the time comes, those who can enter the Phantom Spirit Realm will be the elites of the various sections. You must not let your guard down. You may leave. I will inform you when the matter is settled. Disciple will take his leave. Leng Shiqi bowed and left the stone hall. What made him feel a little strange was that Feng Shamo didn't ask about the changes in the demonic Miasma Mountain Range. Although the demonic Miasma Mountain Range was far away, the Blood Robe Pavilion definitely knew about something as rare as a rank 6 monster undergoing tribulation. It's good that he didn't ask. It saves me the trouble of explaining. Leng Shiqi thought to himself and returned to the stone room. However, there was a little accident in the stone room. Chapter 231. As soon as Leng Shiqi returned to his stone room and put down his bag, he found that the bag containing 9 Leaf moved slightly. He opened the bag first and saw that 9 Leaf's body began to exude a layer of faint purple mist, and her head began to turn gently. She's going to wake up. No, she can't wake up here. Leng Shiqi understood that it should be the sign of 9 Leaves awakening, but this was the pavilion branch, and there was a master of Gang Spirit Realm like Feng Shamo, who could easily detect this demon chi. He didn't dare to delay, so he picked up the bag again, and tore off a 2-star mission in the square of the pavilion branch. Then he left in a hurry without looking at it. Now everyone in the pavilion branch was very busy, and these killers usually didn't care about anything, so Leng Shiqi's action didn't attract any attention. Walking out of the pavilion branch, Leng Shiqi directly drilled into the depths of the Shadewind Ridge at full speed, found an extremely remote place, and sank into the ground. He was a little helpless at this time. He had just returned to the pavilion branch, and didn't even have time to sit on the bench before he came out in a hurry again. Then he put Nine Leaf down and sat cross-legged with his eyes slightly narrowed. While watching Nine Leaf's changes, he thought about how to explain to her about the Heaven Demon Soul Crystal. Gradually, the purple mist on Nine Leaf's body became thicker and thicker, and her figure was faintly growing. Her scorpion tail grew a needle-like purple stinger, and her claws became sharper. Not long after, Nine Leaf opened her mouth and spat out her 7th-ranked demon core. Lung Shiqi saw clearly this time that there were 7 purple lines on the demon core, but most of them were very dim, and only 2.5 were flowing with purple light. And with the passage of time, the 3rd purple line became brighter and brighter. Finally, there was a buzzing sound in the air, and the 3rd purple line on the demon core was completely lit. At the same time, Nine Leaf's chi soared, and she was already a 3rd-ranked demon beast. At this moment, Nine Leaf had also opened her eyes. Her mouth moved, and she kept the purple-veined demon core. She looked at Lung Shiqi and said, "I helped you break through to the Spirit Pulse realm, and you helped me recover to the rank 3 demon beast. We are even now. I don't sense any demonic aura nearby. Where is this?" Lung Shiqi replied, "This is the Shadowwind Ridge of Donglin County." "I do have some impression of Donglin County, but I've never heard of Shadowwind Ridge. Take me out for a walk," Nine Leaf said with a curious look in his eyes. Lung Shiqi didn't expect Nine Leaf to make such a request. He also noticed that Nine Leaf was a little different from before. When they were still in the demonic Miasma mountain range, Nine Leaf had a bitter and vengeful look on her face. She couldn't wait to get Lung Shiqi to help her collect a large number of rank 2 Yao cores. Now that she had recovered to the strength of a rank 3 demon beast, her resentment seemed to have faded a little, and her tone was much more relaxed. However, Lung Shiqi said with some difficulty, "Senior Nine Leaf, this Shadowwind Ridge is extremely desolate and there are few people. There's nothing to see." Nine Leaf actually jumped up. "I don't care. Anyway, you have to take me to a place with a lot of people. I haven't left the demonic Miasma mountain range for hundreds of years. Now that I finally have a chance, I must take a look around." When Lung Shiqi saw this, he wiped away his non-existent cold sweat. Now he even began to wonder if Nine Leaf had been possessed by someone else. How could there be such a big change? But when he heard that Nine Leaf had never left the demonic Miasma mountain range for hundreds of years, he understood. The demonic Miasma mountain range, to put it bluntly, was actually a group of demon beasts raised by spirit cultivators. So what if you are a rank 7 great demon? If you still have to obediently stay in the mountain range, you might even suffer an unexpected disaster. Thinking of this, Lung Shiqi took out the mission that he tore off earlier. The reason why he took the next mission was to find a reason for himself to suddenly leave. Since he had already taken the mission, he might as well do it. At the same time, he could also bring Nine Leaf around. However, with his current Spirit Pulse realm cultivation, it was a bit of a waste for him to take on a 2-star mission. Unfortunately, although he was in the Spirit Pulse realm, he was not a blood-clothed assassin, and could not take on a higher-level mission. He opened the mission information and raised his eyebrows. This mission was to assassinate the young master of Stone Translation City's Lin Hui Dojo, Lining. Unknowingly, Nine Leaf had climbed onto Lung Shiqi's shoulder and leaned over. She said in surprise, "So you are an assassin?" Lung Shiqi did not hide and nodded. "That's right, I am a black-clothed assassin from the Blood-Clothed Pavilion." Blood-Clothed Pavilion? One of the 7 absolutes of the world. The Blood-Clothed Pavilion? That's right. Nine Leaf raised a claw and rubbed her chin in a human-like manner. As expected, your background is not ordinary. Your status in the Blood-Clothed Pavilion is not low. Lung Shiqi coughed dryly and said, "No, I am just an ordinary disciple in the branch." Naturally, he could not reveal the matter of the Blood Fog Island. "You an ordinary disciple?" Nine Leaf obviously did not believe it. "No, Blood-Clothed Pavilion, Blood-Clothed Pavilion. How can you be a black-clothed assassin?" Lung Shiqi felt that Nine Leaf had suddenly become 100,000 wise, but he still patiently explained, "The spirit cultivators in the spirit transformation realm in the Blood-Clothed Pavilion are all black-clothed assassins. Only those who break through to the fourth realm of celestial being are qualified to be promoted to blood-clothed assassins. Then Leng Shiqi did not wait for Nine leave to ask and continued. Although I am in the spirit pulse realm now, I still lack a lot of sect contributions to be promoted to blood-clothed assassin. Doing missions is the way to get sect contributions. I see. Your assassination target, Lin Ying, is just a spirit cultivator who has just entered the pure spirit realm. Is this worth your time? Leng Shiqi replied. That's because I found that Senior Nine leave seemed to be waking up, and there were several masters in the spirit gang realm in the branch. I was afraid that they would notice Senior's aura, so I casually took a mission. Well, you've thought it through. Nine leave's tone contained a bit of praise. That's good too. Let's go to the Stone Translation City for a stroll. Leng Shiqi realized that no matter which world it was, women's pursuit of the word stroll was the same. But now there was another problem. Where should he put Nine leave? Now that Nine leave's body was the size of a small millstone, of course he could not carry it with him. Moreover, she had already woken up, so he could not wrap it up casually. So he said, Senior Nine leave, your identity is indeed a bit inconvenient to show up. That's true. After all, this is the territory of you spirit cultivators. How about this? My soul will leave my body and attach it to your spiritual space. You can put my body away. When Leng Shiqi heard this, he suddenly panicked. However, before he could say anything more, a green shadow emerged from Nine leave's body and entered between his eyebrows. Immediately, Nine leave's roar sounded in his mind. Leng Shiqi, what did you do? You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.